And that is going to finish Platinum League. We're into Diamond. What's up? All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bronze to GM. We're immediately queuing games here. Are we, though? Are we immediately queuing games? Maybe, maybe not. Let's take a quick preview of what we're going to be working on next. Now, we're here at Bronze to GM document. You guys, of course, can see this below in the notes. We're still going to be working on a few of these things. Working on improving the scouting and explaining what we're seeing and dividing it into signs of agreed and aggression. So we're continuing what we're doing. We're writing down set plays and reactions to different scenarios to kind of elucidate our ongoing and non-stop learning process of learning how to deal with the unlimited bullshit that your opponent can do to you in this game. We're going to also look at how to engage different armies. Now, this is something I haven't talked about too much in the Plat 2 section, so we're going to kind of copy-paste that down here into our Diamond 2 onwards. So, Diamond 1, so at some point we're going to swap into Mutiling Bane, and we'll put those notes later. Diamond 3 plus. So we're going to talk about how to engage different armies as we do it. Third Queen. So guys, what are we going to do? Are we going to change our opening? We're in Diamond. Uh-oh. More importantly than anything, new opening. Oh my god. Fast third hatch. Now we could still go pool first, or we could go hatch first. Either way is totally fine here. Honestly, I'm thinking I might stick with pool first because it actually does make it a bit easier for some of the cheesy builds out there. Easier to defend Cannon Rush, easier to defend Proxy Racks, easier to defend 12 pool. It makes our life easier, and it puts us like half a drone behind in the macro game. So I think we're gonna just stick with the pool first, stick with the pool hatch gas. We're just gonna get a quicker third hatch and a quicker third queen. So we get that creep spread going nice and early. Now beyond that, that does mean our Roach Warren and so on. So what are some of the other points for the opening? So we're also going to have our Bane Nest / Roach Warren. So our defensive tech, which is Roach Warren, and it'll be Bane Nest later on when we're playing Mutas, is flexible. So that's going to be down at 3 minutes in ZVZ, or ZVZ, it's going to be at 2 minutes 50. The other matchups, it's going to be a bit later. Let's say 4 minutes plus versus TERRAN and Zerg. Let's just say 4 minutes as a standard, actually. TERRAN and Protoss, sorry. So that's going to be our new build order. What else changes there? Well, that does change the order quite a little bit. Are we still just committing to Roach Hydra? Are we just committing to Roach Hydra? Ooh, yes we are, but we are going to start going into Mutiling Bane. We hit Diamond 2 or Diamond 1, depending on how quickly we get there. And once we get to Masters and GM, we might do a bit of, and through Masters, we might do a bit of flitting back and forth between the two. So we're not going to completely abandon Roach Hydra because you can absolutely get to GM with just Roach Hydra. You can absolutely do that as long as you do it well enough. But I think we'll learn a lot of skills and show them in different circumstances using Mutiling Bane as well. We're still going to be very layer tech focused because I think that's a great way to learn better habits and skills. And I really would advise people stick with the more basic opening until you get to at least Diamond 3, at least, if not a bit higher. But we're just going to start to be a little bit more flexible. Now, a lot of people will be like, isn't Zerg super reactive from like Diamond, right? Like now you're going to scout, you're going to play reactively to your opponent. Only to a certain point. In general, in StarCraft, you still want to have a build order. You want to have a core composition that is good in most situations that you're heading for. It's going to be Roach Hydra when we start. It'll be Mutiling Bane a bit later on once we swap to that style. And that doesn't change based on what you scout from your opponent. It might be, oh, I see this pressure, so I build some units a little earlier than normal. It's little things like that. But overall, the build should be heading for a very similar structure. People get this idea that you should be bending over backwards and conforming your build into 1,000 different directions based on what you scout. But the thing is, scouting information is really imperfect in StarCraft. Your opponent can deny your scouting, and sometimes your opponent will show you one thing, and then they'll go in a completely different direction. If you try to be too reactive, you end up just playing inefficiently, and you just don't have enough stuff, you get too fancy, you trip over your own feet. So you want to have pre-planned set responses for specific scenarios when necessary. And more often than not, when you encounter a problem and your play doesn't work, you don't change your whole build order, you find a small little flexible response based off of a set scouting tell. And that's something we'll be doing as we encounter those problems. So we're going to change up the opening a little bit. We're spreading a bit of creep more regularly with that third queen. We're changing the build order up. Why is it faster in ZVZ? Because people can effing kill us. That's why. Bit later versus TERRAN and Protoss, because queens and lings should keep us safe at the very start against those guys. They don't have massling bane flooding across the map, that sort of thing. Other than that, we will start talking about a bunch of stuff as we get to the next step. And just adding these reaction lists. Anything else? We'll try to split the army consistently a little bit more. Do a little roach run by while our main attack goes in. And I think that should be great, guys. Okay. So, guys, let's get into it. Let's queue some games and let's kick some butts. Don't forget to ask questions as we go, and especially call out moments in the game where something difficult happened or you guys felt I had to react to something. I'm going to be relying on people in Twitch chat calling that out so that when I rewind at the end of each replay, which is a habit I have to do, I'm not allowed to leave any game upon leaving it. I should have actually hammered this home from earlier in the series. You always press rewind at the end of every game. And actually, we're going to play the rewind game. So that's one more thing. I'll write that down in the notes as well. The rewind game. Play the rewind game. Now, what is the rewind game, guys? The rewind game is where at the end of each game, we press rewind. And before we look at anything, we make a guess about something based off of our game sense, where we think something was in the game. And then we go to we check the replay and confirm. So we see how close was my understanding of what happened in the game with imperfect information to what was actually happening. So say I attack my opponent and I overwhelm them and I go, this guy was really greedy. I think my opponent had 60 probes. That's, I think that they had 60 probes at 7 minutes when I killed them. And then I'll check the replay and I'll see they only had 40 and I go, whoa, how did I misread this game so badly? And that's gonna give me a nice point of information to double check in the replay, well, what really happened and why was my perception so far off the reality? And it's only through just doing that many times that you can improve your understanding of what the heck is going on in a StarCraft game, because there's so many times, even pro gamers are constantly misreading things. It's imperfect information. So your game sense, your ability to read the game based off an imperfect set of information, that is a skill that develops slowly and gradually through many repetitions of testing, trial and error. So the first overlord will go in, see if there's an expansion, and then go and sit on the pillar. Second overlord, of course, is getting ready to check the natural, and then go across the map ready to sacrifice. And guys, we're still going pool first. So the only difference is going to be... Oh, you know what? We are going to pull off gas, actually. That's the one thing that kind of changes as well that I didn't write in the notes. So you guys can remind me to write that in the notes after this. Let's go third, fourth, and fifth. And that goes there. Build another one, take a gas. Remember, that's 16. Oh. And then our extra drones are rallying on there. Where's that SCV? Okay. I was like, whoa, are you building a bunker, buddy? I don't think so. I think that's just a scout, guys. So we'll build one more, start the queen, and now we can rally to the natural. So this looks exactly the same. The only difference is when we hit 100 gas, we are going to be pulling these workers off gas for a little bit. I'm not sure how long that's going to be. We're going to need to figure that out. But it's going to be nice. And we want that third base down, about 30 supply. We're also going to start a third queen right after that third hatch goes down. So the trick here is to not build any extra overlords. It's going to be third hatch, third queen, then an overlord. And that's going to avoid us getting 2 supply blocked. Build another queen. That queen injects and goes down there. Now we don't see any expansion. Oh my. And actually I forgot to build my 2 Zerglings. So let's get those over there. I'm just going to send that overlord in just there and then queue it back. So hopefully it sees if there's just a slightly late expansion. So we're going to pull 2 workers off gas. I think that's a little bit of a softer way to do it. And we're going to send a drone to the third. Now, we can see he's actually coming in here. And he's got a command center on the high ground, so let's send these Zerglings back to defend the Reaper. Oh, hello. Now, if they block it, go to the 4th as well. Inject, inject. And I'm building Overlord at the same time because I'm blocked. And we're going to try and hide that. We're going to take that base. Keep building drones. 3rd Queen and Overlord. I already built the extra Overlord because I was blocked. So I sped up part of the build there. If I was blocked even longer, and that's going to be my 3rd, that'll be my 4th. We can cancel that, go back to mining. Then I would have sped up other parts as well. Okay. This Queen, I guess we'll keep doing injects. The 3rd Queen can become the defense queen. So we're building drones, and about 3 minutes 30, we want to put back on gas. So let's change the rally point here. Let's build some more Overlords, as things have been really distracted this game. That can go there. Let's make sure the Overlords go out. There's a lot of things we had to react to, wasn't it? Holy shit. Inject, inject. Lots of drones. I'm going to put my Zerglings, one on the 3rd, one on the natural. I haven't sent my Overlord through yet, so let's do that. Holy crap, lots of things to do. 4 minutes, so let's put that Roach Warren down, which kind of works out to where our Roach Warren was going down before anyway. Let's put guys on gas. The lair. 3 guys there, and we'll build 3 more drones to just click on this other gas. Now, the rest of the build we're kind of following in a similar manner, right? We're getting up to 4 gas and so on. But what can we do to change things? Well, with this faster 3rd, to really get advantage, not only do we want to spread creep from it, we also can drone that 3rd. So building a few Overlords, we're going to drone this 3rd base. What did we see there? We saw a 3rd command center up in the main. Ooh, that's interesting, isn't it? Let's see what... Because I'm pretty sure there's one there. So my opponent's got Hellions building and a 3rd command center. Big sign agreed. So notice, we're still playing Roach Hydra, but we are just going to be going a little bit more economic here. I'm going to build some Roaches to defend those Hellions. Now, I don't know if there's a starport or not, so we're just going to build some safety spores at about 4 minutes 45. It's 5 minutes, it's a little late, but that's okay. And we've just got 1 Creep Queen, so let's keep droning now. We've got the Roaches just to defend. And let's shuffle these Overlords forward. And what did we just see? Wow, that's a lot of guys coming my way. So I'm going to build a few more Roaches, guys. And we're going to sit those in a central position. Okay. We're going to try and intercept these. So I'm building more Roaches right now, trying to defend. And we want to pull back. And notice these Overlords are going to tell us where he's coming from. So we're droning. We're going to take the gases. And we can go... Evo Chambers, Hydroden. Now, whether or not we're going to actually wait for those before we attack remains to be seen. Oh my god. Now, do we run drones away? Remember, the answer is always no. I'm building more drones during this. I'm building more Overlords. Put down some more creep. And let's go back down there. Okay, so now my opponent's shown Blue Flame Hellions. So I'm going to take a safety precaution. I'm going to take a bunch of Roaches, put them on a different key, and leave those in my natural. Inject, inject, inject. Drones on gas. Drones on gas. A few more drones to round out the production. Build lots of Overlords. 1-1 upgrades. We can start a Hydra upgrade. But we also might just be able to kill my opponent, right? So let's make an Overseer and queue that through. I haven't been building Roaches though, so it wouldn't make sense to attack now, would it? Because we've been greedy. So let's build a few more Roaches, then let's go into mass Hydra production. I'm going to break these rocks down, because in general as a Zerg, more open spaces is really good. Inject, inject, inject. Build Hydras, and oh! Those 5 Roaches from earlier. Whenever you're playing against mech or someone who goes Blue Flame, you always want to position yourself in this way. And this is how you defend anyone who does multi-prong, guys. So if my opponent was dropping, it would be the same thing. My army is defending this right side of the map, which means these guys go here. So if my main army pushes the left side of the map, these guys will move down here. So because I'm going to push that left side soon, I'm already going to pre-position those Roaches over on this side now. Now also, if we build a few more Overlords and put those out on the edges, build an Overlord, build an Overlord, build an Overlord, that's also going to see Hellions way ahead of time, which is really going to help me. Make sure the other Hydra upgrades here. He's building lots of tanks and lots of bio. Okay, cool. Once again, tanks on the high ground, guys. We encountered this earlier in Platinum. We're encountering it again. Inject, inject, inject. Let's take a 4th base here, just so we have that to transition. We're not planning to drone it right now. We just want to have it as a kind of opening things up for the future. And we're just spreading creep out. And notice we're getting more and more used to that. Now, a cool little tip, even if you don't have enough inject energy, if you tell him to move there, or her to move there, then to put it, by the time she gets to that move command, she'll have regenerated enough energy to put down the tumor. So if I'd given her the command to go from spreading that creep tumor to here, she would have gone, don't have energy. Instead, she has the energy. Just a cute little, very detailed thing. You don't need to do that by any means, but cool details are fun. I like cool details. Now, it looks like my opponent wants to attack me, so let's move forward and intercept that army. My army is not the biggest right now, but we're going to spread. So how do we spread? Concave. And we're going to have one spotting roach. Goes, hey, what's going on? Oh, there he is. And then we can just jump on that. So let's go for it. Big army, so we don't want to move at all. We just want to move sections. Section, move forward, a move. And now, inject, inject, inject. Oh, yep, those guys are still there. So if there was a drop or a run by, we'd still have these guys there. And we're just going to attack with the Roach Hydra. Now, I'm going to split my army. So half goes into the natural, and half goes into the 3rd. And there's a tank there, so let's pull back a little bit. We can poo creep on that base. We can poo creep on that base. Pooing's a really good move because it's fun. So if the more that you poo, the more fun you have. And I like doing poos on my opponents. So remember, guys, whenever it might not be the most effective use of your APM, but if it gives you joy, then you should do it. So if a strategy sparks joy, then make sure you do it. So that's really important. That's my philosophy. My name is Pig Kondo, and I hope you guys enjoyed my show. Okay, guys, so questions. What did I have to react to in this game? Notice this is a very different build order, first of all. So maybe we should review the build order and write a few notes on that, first of all. So let's go back to our display capture here. Okay, new opening. Pull off gas. So about, let's say, at Ling speed. Pull 2 off gas. 330 back on gas. Now, well, what if 330 doesn't work for you? I mean, in general, it's kind of like, hey, both mineral lines should be getting saturated about then, so maybe it makes more sense. So as I'm building the drones that are going to fully saturate both mineral lines, I also then can afford to put the extra drones back on. As long as it's back on by 4 minutes, you should be fine. But I like 330. I find the game's pretty consistent up to that point. It makes sense. Chat says, why so few queens? Why not? So there's 1,000 ways to play StarCraft, guys. So the argument would be, why would you want to build more queens? I can tell you why what you want to do is not what I want to do. But I can't tell you why I'm not doing something in a strategy game with 1,000 options in front of me. We have 1,000 options in front of us. So why not questions don't tell us anything in StarCraft. Because you have so many different things that you can do. So tight, concise sentences, please, and let us know exactly kind of why you think we should get more queens, or why you would go for queens. So I'll try to read into it, but it makes my job very hard because I can't read minds, guys. I don't know, I sound a bit shitty about that, but I have an ongoing rule in my chat: don't ask why not questions, because it forces me to be a mind reader. There's so many ways to view StarCraft. There's pro gamers who sometimes have views on strategies where I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's objectively wrong. That just shows that there's so many factors. It's maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're wrong, I don't know. There's so much going on in StarCraft. So anyway, up till now, we've been doing obviously a build with only 2 queens. We've only just started adding the 3rd queen in recently, but now we're trying to get a quicker 3rd hatch and a quicker 3rd queen so that we are spreading creep. Now, just spreading creep with 1 queen, totally fine. That's really the only purpose for it. So what are some people saying? Oh, to defend Hellions. We're using roaches. So we're playing Roach Hydra. Roaches are an even better tool for defending Hellions. Having more queens is good for Hellion. Yep. Okay, it's good for Banshees or Battlecruisers. Banshees aren't really a problem. You can always build more queens reactively and build spores and so on and that sort of stuff. If we're good with our Overlord Scout, we should notice if there's a tech lab stuff. I built spores anyway because I didn't look too closely at my Overlord. In hindsight, I didn't even need those spores. My opponent didn't build a starport. So what if your opponent goes Battlecruisers? Yeah, having a lot of queens is very good for that. You could probably kill a battlecruiser opening with roach speed anyway, because they're not going to have much else at home. But hopefully you've scouted properly and then you can react with extra spores, or you can react quickly once you see it. If we run into a battlecruiser, I'll write out the whole list, but there's unlimited strategies out there. So we're not going to play completely safe and completely prepared for everything, right? So the whole point though is if we go for a lot of queens, that slows down us getting our gas and getting our roaches out. Roaches completely shut down Hellions really effectively, number one. Number two, that allows us to get quicker roaches and hydras, which is important. Why? Because we need to go and attack our opponent. With a roach hydra style, it innately is going to be an aggressive stance in the mid game, because the longer we let the game go, the more tanks, the more upgrades, the more bio they build, the worse our army will scale. Our army's good in early to mid game fights. So if we build a whole bunch of queens, which by their very nature cannot be used offensively, I know queen walks are a thing. It's very advanced and it's only for dealing with like heavy air players. So I know there's one person like, oh, said people walk queens. They're the worst aggressive unit of all time. Let's be real. So if you build a lot of queens, they're a purely defensive tool. It's kind of like building spores and spines. They're not going to help you attack. Whereas these roaches for early defense to defend the Hellions are awesome use later when we're attacking our opponent. It's also totally fine to just die to some builds, says Carnage. Absolutely! You can't be safe versus everything. We'll work on our scouting, we'll work on our game sense, and we'll work on our ability to see things as they come, but you cannot be safe against everything. If you guys obsess over that one thing that beat you yesterday on the ladder, you're going to become a worse player. There is an inherent risk in a game of imperfect information. If you play it perfectly, if you just try to play safe versus everything, you end up playing good versus nothing. So that's actually a great point from Carnage in chat. I did not use a changeling with the Overseer Sacrifice. I wasn't looking at it, I just queued it through the base. And the rest are troll questions. Thank you, chat. Idiots. If there's any other good questions I missed, let me know. Otherwise, we're just going to look at the defense early on and so on, right? Okay. So all we saw was some Hellions. Now, notice we're very aware of our minimap. So in this stats, even if my screen's not looking at the Hellions, I'm watching where they go on the minimap. There's a bit of a void here. It'd be cool if I had an Overlord there just to see everything they do, right? I think in hindsight, that's a good idea. But instead, I kept my roaches in a sort of central position where they could move to the right or they could move to the left. And they end up moving to the right. Now, they do get lured off creep a little bit there. So my opponent gets some drones. But remember, I don't panic and run my drones away because they're naturally somewhat spread out on a mineral line. And unless your opponent's really sick at focus firing, how many drones does he kill? Like, I don't know, a couple? It's not a big deal, right? But remember at this point, I knew my opponent had Blue Flame Hellion. I assumed it was probably mech, but even if not, there's a good chance there's going to be future Hellion run-bys. So what do we do, guys? We built a few extra Overlords and put them on these side paths to see any run-bys coming across the map. And I also split off 5 roaches onto, this is my little drop defense squad here. That it shows up as 7, but whatever key works for you might be like 3 or 5, probably 5. And I put that there. So main army defends one angle, that defends the other. And as I said, it's right, left. It's right, left. Or if this army starts pushing the left side, these guys will probably go to the right. And you just kind of keep them there. And this allows you, with our control grouping eggs, not using F2, to already preempt any sort of multi-prong. And it puts us in such a good position. So it's really good. Like here I'm breaking the rocks, so it's a little lazy, I think, for me to have this army here. But because I have a good amount of vision, I feel okay. Technically, I was a little risky here. Those Hellions could have ran up here and gone straight in my mineral line, and these roaches were a bit out of position because I was taking a break from defending that flank to break the rocks. A little bit of greed. Wasn't perfect. Is there any reason to not use Overlords to poo creeps? There's lots of syrup. Oh, you can do that, but it's not as reliable as creep spread. Overlords die as well. You don't want to have too many Overlords on the map because if your opponent pushes in, then they're supply blocking you. Overlords are pretty weak and you don't want to get supply blocked. But yeah, it's nice to drop creep with them as a bonus, but you know, like you might poop creep out of an Overlord here to connect these bases if you don't want to bother putting a tumor in your main. What's the use of releasing creep with the Overlord? They can't take an expansion on that. So if you, and we talked about this in an earlier episode, if you take an Overlord, you press this button, or you use the hotkey preferably, and then you right click on a base and you go shift hold position. That overlord will fly there, hold position, and start shooting pooping creep. And even if a marine's hitting it, it won't run away. It'll just sit there until it dies, and the creep will take a while to dissipate, so they can't take the base. So if you do that in all the edge expansions, not only are you scouting when your opponent wants to take the base, you're forcing them to send units over to kill said overlord to take the base, and there's going to be a delay even after it's cleared. So it's just an easy way of basically slowing down someone's expansions and keeping track of when they're expanding. Is overlord speed worth the investment? Once you've got 3 bases or more up, overlord speed's a fantastic upgrade, but you shouldn't be rushing overlord speed. And the reason for that is very simple. If you guys rush overlord speed, you're going to find yourself too often, it's a lot of money, and you can get most of your information with good map vision with just overlords and zerglings. So most players, they spend all this money in an early overlord speed, and if you're not reacting at an exceptionally high level to everything you see with that overlord speed, it doesn't really give you an advantage. So overlord speed is a very advanced upgrade for if players who are very good with their scouting and very solid with their mechanics, so they can keep macroing while analyzing that scouting information. Once you're in the mid game, 100 minerals, 100 gas is pretty cheap though. So from then it's pretty fine. All right, guys. So habit of mine, I did not pay attention to the race. It's Protoss. Okay, so we go there and into the pillar. We're gonna set up our camera locations: natural, 3rd, 4th, 5th. We're going to build a second overlord. Goes over the natural, and then where does it go? To the sacrifice position. Build another drone. And you know what, guys? We're in diamond now. Let's stop being a little bitch. We've got extra actions. Let's double these workers up. 2 there, 2 there, 2 on this patch, and 2 on that patch. Beautiful. Notice as well, I'm going to start rallying those drones to different patches. Now, I accidentally had 3 on that patch, so I took 1 off, and we fixed that up. Browsomator, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. I feel like I can't properly scout with overlord speed. I always go it after Ling speed, says Joe. A lot of people feel that way. What I find is those players normally aren't very confident in their builds and their reactions to things. So they freak out a little bit. And they're like, I need to see what's happening. And sometimes it's nice to see what's happening. I would argue that it's usually not necessary. So I would say for most people, you don't need to worry. Now, he could cannon rush, right? So we should actually be following him. Oi! Okay, cannon rush, our first cannon rush. Now, is this actually a cannon rush? We don't know. 1 attacks him, 4 attacks that, and we're also going to make sure we patrol there. Keep building a drone. Oh, probably should have saved that for Zerglings, actually. And it was a fake. Grab all the drones, send them back. Cheeky fucker, tricked us. But that's okay. He built a pylon, and it's all good. All right, so we're going to build our overlord now. Put that out front. We see, oh, it was a real forge. So my opponent actually was cannon rushing, guys. Now that's interesting because there's no nexus there. So we're going to go and just search my whole base. Build an extra guy. I think we're fully saturated on the main. Yes, we are. Cool. So now we see that there's an expansion on the way. We can put the overlord back on the high ground. That there, it looks like it is not a full ball. I think there's maybe an opening on the left, but there's definitely one on the right. Ling speed and pull off gas. So what we can do is we can grab those guys, put them on gas. A cool thing if you pull guys off and they have shit in their hand is as you pull them, just immediately press that return cargo button. I should have done that when I first grabbed it, and it just means they'll return that nicely. Now we want to grab a drone, move it out to our 3rd. Why? Why? Because we want to start that 3rd hatch, then we want to go a queen and an overlord. We don't have the queen and the overlord yet. So we'll do a macro cycle, and we'll get the queen. So 3rd queen's on the way. We'll build the overlord, just to make sure we get this done nice and early, even though my high level instincts say build a few more drones first. Let's just make sure we remember it in the set order. Now, because my opponent was cheeky, I sent that Zergling around just to see if there's any more probes on the map. And you know what? There's still a few shadows on the map, so I'm just going to queue up some attack moves. Just like that. And we'll build another overlord here. Inject, inject. Keep building drones. And build another overlord. So it's just drones and overlords, drones and overlords. Should we poke the front here? Let's see. Is there a cannon? Oh, oh. Check it out, he ran out of the wall. Let's see what we're up against. Cool. Don't actually stare at it. Let's spread creep. So, what is that? Gateways, a Stargate, and a Robo. There's a lot of different tech in there. And what we want to do, if you want to be annoying, is you just do that. And then inject, drones, overlords. Let's change that back. Put back on gas. We're a little slow to put back on gas this game. It's 4 minutes, so it's roach warren time. And let's keep building overlords. Put those around the base. There's a lot of space for overlords on this map. And oh my god, guys, we have so many drones. So this early game got a little bit distracted. Let's pull a few guys down there. But otherwise, we've still got to put guys on gas. So that's maybe a bit of an early transfer. Just keep tapping drones. And what's that? A Void Ray. Oh, okay. So you know what, guys? There's a Forge, a Robo, and a Stargate. That's a lot of tech. So I don't feel too worried. We're going to pull these overlords back a little bit. But you know what? Not too far. Let's keep building drones. Ooh, inject. Don't do one inject and then do other things. That was lazy. I'm getting distracted. Bad pig, bad. So what are we going to do, guys? We're once again going a little bit heavier into the economy game. But there was 3 gateways and a Robo. I don't know if there could be an attack. If you're ever unsure, or in general, we could make it a default part of the build if you find this works better for you. I've got 2 bases of workers. Actually, I have a few more. Let's just build a few roaches for safety, just so we have the beginnings of a defense. And then we can feel a little bit more confident going to that next step. Roach speed's on the way. What is the next step, guys? Double Evo down, Hydra down. Notice we're going straight to that step with this new faster third. Why are we doing this? Well, with the new build order, it just makes sense. Okay, well, we're going to grab our queens and go over there. Let's build a spore in each base in case oracles come in. And let's pull these overlords back, shall we? So we're going to pull those back a bit, build a few more overlords to replace them. Spread a creep tumor there. And we're gonna build a queen for each base, so they'll be the new injecting queens. But we haven't droned our third yet, so let's keep building overlords, building drones. And we've got 3 queens that'll pop out, whereas these 3 queens have now become our anti-Void Ray squad. That's their whole job. So we're gonna try and get a bit more creep out and get some upgrades, queue all those up at once. And you'll notice I don't have many units out, but that's just because I've got map vision, right? Now you could argue I'm being a little bit greedy here. And you'll see I'm kind of haphazard macroing. I'm injecting random hatcheries. It's not in a macro cycle. That's because he just forced my macro to be a bit fucked up by making my queens become fighting units, which I normally try to avoid at all costs. We don't like that. We don't like that at all. Now we forgot our Overseer Scout, so let's just send this guy straight through. And we've got 3 full bases of workers. Off just a handful of roaches, that's pretty greedy. Now, in this scenario, we have used some incredibly high-level gaming knowledge to be this greedy off just a handful of roaches. What is that? Number 1, we have map vision, so, well, we won't be surprised if he attacks. Number 2, he did a failed cannon rush into a really late nexus, so we're just not too worried. That's a lot of zealots hiding in the back of the base, and a dark shrine. Why are you hiding zealots in the back of your base? So that tells us 100% keep building units. So basically, there's a sliding scale in the game. You should have an idea of what you can do in a normal game. And then, when you're ahead, you want to push your greed further than that. So what I'm explaining... Oh my god, what is this? Check out this move, guys. If you try to tell your spores to go under that, that's really sick. Run away. Don't ever attack into your opponent. Just keep building roaches and hydras. And what we're going to do, because that's a lot of zealots, is we're going to wedge our units in here. So we're actually telling them to hold position here. I'll actually put my greens down there even. Okay, now I think I have enough units. But actually, let's wait for 1-1. Oh, he's going to run away. Coward! Never fight. I actually think I had the numbers to take that, but that's me using my high-level visual analysis where I can just go, oh yeah, I have enough stuff to win that fight. That's all good. If you don't know, pull back into the mineral line. Why? Because that was melee units versus ranged units. If I get in a choke point, where are the zealots going to attack? Single space choke, bit of a choke, right? So we pulled back to a safe location. Also, all of our upgrades were still kicking in. So why would we go out and fight there? And that's the number one mistake we always make, right? Is we're like, well, he wants to attack me. I should go fight him. It's like, dude, he wants to fight you. Why would you ever, for the fucking life of you, fight someone who's coming up to you and wants to fight you? That crazy person has nothing to lose. That's the worst thing. Don't fight someone who wants to fight you. You fight the bully who wants to not fight you, who's bullying you around, and you go, okay, I need to like actually tell this guy what's up, or he's never gonna leave me alone. But against a player like that, it's like pull back, assess the situation, build another round or two of units. Often people die when if they just got one more round of units out, they'd be fine. And then go do it. Now, what are we doing, guys? Roaches, Hydras, Overseers? Cool. And look at our creep spread. Our creep spread's getting pretty sick. But notice 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 active creep tumors, guys. How many people out there have like 300 creep tumors and they're spending all their APM clicking it? So few. All right, guys, we're gonna get ready to attack. Let's break these. King Slorch! Holy shit! Thank you so much for the overwhelming love, my friend. Okay, guys, so we're gonna try and attack now. Oh, I see blurry boys in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of these off the hotkey. Notice I stole that off the hotkey. And what we're gonna do is, because he's mostly melee, so we're gonna try and bait him up the ramp. We're gonna do fancy micro. He's not taking it? Okay, let's go down here and just fight from one angle. So at least and we'll keep this Overseer in reserve. Let's try and we're maxed. Whoa. Let's bring that other Overseer in. Yep, notice he focused the Overseer, but we brought the other Overseer in. Now let's go for it. Yep, he's trying to click on the Overseer so that his DTs could win the game. So, Forge players are generally trickier players, right? Someone who tries to cannon rush. Also someone who's much more focused on those dirty tactics.
Robbie!
Really well played from my opponent.
I got Silicon Valley money, bitch!
So let's go back. This was an attempted cannon rush. So, I was doing my completely normal thing, and then I said, wait, there's a probe here. At first, the probe came straight into my main, which is not normally where they cannon rush, which is why I was like, you know, I wasn't too worried. But then I was like, well, no, we do have as a rule, we should attack the probe, right? In general, this is so easy because we've gone pool first. So I could have already taken a drone and just attacked the probe because we know that a probe is the most dangerous worker in the game because he can cannon rush us. But I didn't react at all other than that. It's just that's a standard thing that we do. And it wasn't until at this moment when we react. Always pause at the moment. What is the tell? Let's map this shit out. Let's map this shit out. Set plays and replay analysis. Okay. I feel like these should be headings, by the way, right? So let's just make sure those are kind of a little bit more distinguished. In our document. Formatting. Okay. First step. Bronze 2+. Okay, there we go. All right, fantastic, guys. So set plays and replay analysis. My keyboard's off to the left because I use the core, so it is typing's a bit funky, but okay. So what was this, guys? This was Cannon Rush game Blackburn. Okay. Spot pylon going down at natural. That is the tell. Okay, so that's the tell. That's the reaction. That's the thing. So what do? I pull 4 drones and attack pylon from all sides. Spread drones from all sides. Patrol 1 drone to block scariest wall off location. What does that mean? What the fudge are you talking about, Pig? So with a pylon, just building cannons in the middle is not scary. It's the easiest thing ever. You just attack move with workers, or you just tell them to target the different cannons. Super easy. But what we're worried about is if my opponent builds like a cannon there and they get like a pylon around, 2 pylons around it, and you can't attack it with more than 1 or 2 drones. No. Yeah, this is actually just a shit pylon positioning. So there's no real scary wall. So I guess the scariest here is if they build a gateway there and then a cannon and like a pylon there, and you can only attack it with 1 guy. It's just not a great cannon spot though here, right? It would have been scarier if they put it like there, because they could go pylon, 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 and then they create this nice little walled off area where the cannons can go. But nonetheless, you're going to see me. So I pull the drones, I leave 1 attacking it, and I pull 4 more. Now, I forgot to do something. This guy should be on my main army key at this point, and those guys should be on my secondary. Actually, no. I put these guys on my main army key, number 2, and I should already box another 10 drones on number 3. So that's something I didn't do this game, but we should do that so that we can react quicker and so we can micro them as army units. Because in this scenario, our drones are our army units. Control group main army. Control group 10 more drones. Is it committed? Tells equal second probe. So if they bring a second probe, you know they're committing. Pylon finishing. Cannons going down. Now, obviously, pylon finishing isn't 100%. They could finish a pylon and then not build cannons. So we might need to then, we might pull all 10 drones. So basically, if you see any of these though, you pull second army key of 10 more drones. Split attacks between all the different buildings. And always keep 1 to 2 drones attacking each probe. Yeah, and then basically it's just bonus points if you intercept and kill the probes. Equals complete shutdown. In this case, you get a fast spawning pool, so you're safe whatsoever. No, not really, because they can, if they wall it in, your Zerglings still aren't quick enough if they do an efficient cannon rush. But my opponent was not doing an efficient cannon rush. They started they built 18 probes rather than stopping at 16 or 17, and they built a gate and a gas. They could have already had a pylon cage up, so the pool here is a little bit risky. Yeah. When defending cannon rush, do Protoss getting spawning pool? Oh yeah, with this build we're already going pool first. Shisi was answering Peruvian Swarm. Yep, absolutely. You're already going pool first. So your pool should already be down. Yeah. Okay, so that's the cannon rush. That was cool. Did we see any other cool moments in this game? Is there an alternative to pulling probes like cancelling a hatch and building a roach horn? Yeah, if you want to lose every game. No, it just makes your life harder than possible because you're forcing yourself down such a drastically different branch. With this, you pull workers, you shut it down, you go back to a normal game, you've cost a bit of mining time. It's totally fine. They pulled a probe and a pylon. It's a lot of opportunity cost. In this case, they also built a forge, and it's fine. What if we do a standard hatch first? Exact same response. When do you know you lost the hatch? Depends on the situation. Depends a lot on the situation, but focus on never getting in that position. Unless you're playing an absolutely expert cannon rusher on a map with a super abusive spot, you should always be able to just defend with workers. Yeah, so a lot of people always want to learn what to do once they've fucked up. But I would say rather than learning first aid, don't shoot yourself in the foot in the first place, guys. It's just, in my opinion, learning gun safety takes priority over learning how to heal bullet wounds or, attend first aid to them. I hope that sums up my philosophy on it. It's a much more different situation to a normal game. Even if you defend well with like a roach horn and cancelling a hatch and building it elsewhere, it makes the game a lot messier and most players really fumble very hard in the follow-up. So don't overcommit to that. So anyway, guys, as we're going into this, we are playing kind of straight to Roach Hydra these days, right? We're going past the Roach. Now that we're in Diamond, we're not going for that Roach attack as much. I still think this Roach attack could absolutely do very well for us in a lot of these games, but we're just kind of going to the next step, especially because we've seen a Void Ray. Now, if we didn't see all this tech, Void Ray, like Stargate plus Robo plus Forge, that's a lot of tech from our opponent, remember? And we even saw that the Forge was spinning earlier with our Zergling. So in terms of signs of greed versus signs of aggression, I guess that's what we would summarize. 2 different tech structures equals greed. Forge upgrading equals greed. And we didn't even see. My opponent took a 3rd tech structure. Those are all big signs of greed. However, there's no 3rd base, which is more of a sign of aggression, right? Especially the longer the game goes with no 3rd base. So what this ended up being was essentially an incredibly late 2-base attack from my opponent. Now, we decided to just kind of drone up,
Thanks for the base
off a handful of roaches. If we saw any sort of ground attack coming, we would have reacted with a lot more roaches. But otherwise, we were just going straight to 3 base, 1/1 Roach Hydra, which is, of course, our next step. So we just kind of skipped the Roach attack phase. And that's probably what we're going to be doing in most of these games, unless we see something that makes us think, yeah, let's mass Roaches and go. And there's a good reason to do it. Thank you, BLNK. And that's about it. Other than, yeah, the drop came in. The drop, right? This was actually such a cute attack for my opponent. They're like hiding zealots in the back, but they left a whole bunch of zealots there. So there's like a charge lot void ray attack. It's super cute, super bizarre. But I already had enough units, despite having a 20 worker advantage. Now, if you're defending your opponent's 2 base committed attack while being up 20 workers, your opponent done goofed. Now, you can see my opponent did goof a bit. Why? Well, they're building immortals and sentries and a lot of zealots that aren't here with their army. So attacking with this army here, it was meant to be like, I surprise you in the back of your base. I think they were hoping there was no creep spread to spot it or something. The Void Rays clear the Overlord. But I was super overly respectful because, number 1, I thought the army was a bit bigger than it was. Number 2, upgrades are almost done. Number 3, my army is much better when these upgrades are finished, and if we get a few more roaches in front, if we get a few more units. So this is actually huge. These opponents look worse than the platinum opponents, chat saying. Oh, no, not at all. No, not at all. These guys are actually doing things to each other. The platinum opponents, for the most part, did get dumpstered. Today, I guess towards the end of platinum, we got a few players that kind of just survived early on. But like one of them we let get there. These guys are actually playing a lot better, in my opinion, because they're being a bit more proactive and doing a few more things to their opponents. But it's only a couple hundred MMR difference, so, you know. You feel helpless in a 200-200 fight against Skytoss? Just play Ultra Corruptor, but also don't let it get there. Ultra Corruptor's nice. If they only build air units, then you can just use like Corruptor Viper. You gotta use those parasitic bombs and abducts. But don't try to do like Queen, Spore, Viper, Infester, everything. It just gets a little bit too complicated. So guys, we're playing against a random player here, and we are gonna go, what the fuck do we do? They're random? Well, our build's the same versus everyone anyway, so who cares? We're gonna do the exact same thing that we always do, and that should be just fine. Over the natural and then across the map to the sacrifice position. How you doing, JW? You might face me? Yeah, I'm not encouraging people to snipe me just because I think that'd be too much of people screwing around, and I would like to have a real ladder experience here to try and get more realistic games. People play weird when they know who they're playing against and that sort of stuff, but it is what it is. So we've got the hatchery on the way. Oh, I went hatch first. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Reading chat a little bit too much. So we've changed the build order. Let's get that pool down. Now, does this change a lot? Not really. It just means my queens will come out at the same time a little bit later. Technically a little bit risky. We're going to try and make the build exactly the same other than that, okay? And it really shouldn't change anything, okay? I'll just be a little bit further ahead on drones. Are you going to do TERRAN bronze to gem? That is the 4,000th time I've been asked that. If this one is well received, then we're definitely considering it. So we'll see how we go with it. Okay, let's get an overlord. So third overlord out front our base, out there. What are we up against, guys? I'm a little worried. It's a very small map, and I could be getting proxied. But it's hatch. Oh, it's hatch first versus hatch first. It's a Zerg player. Guess what, guys? We have a different overlord pattern versus Zerg. We don't do an overlord sacrifice, but we're gonna send 2 Zerglings across to scout. Build that second queen. So what we want to do against Zerg is we get 2 overlords outside the base, because we're actually getting to the point where we play different versus each matchup, and then an overlord in the middle, coming out pretty soon, and the next overlord right outside our base. If you want, you can prioritize this overlord outside the base, then fill out the one in the middle. It's really up to you. Now, remember, we're meant to pull off gas a little bit at starting Ling speed. Now, I am only going to pull 1 off gas here in Zerg versus Zerg, or actually... Yeah, we'll pull 1 off gas. We'll do that. That's fine. Inject, inject. We can shoo the overlord back a little bit. Take that. Now remember, we're going to send these Zerglings through just to see what's up. And if you see the Zergling is wobbling, that means Ling speed's on the way. That also is a Baneling nest. It's already time for our Baneling nest anyway 250. We're building ours about 10 seconds late. And our opponent has messed up a little bit there. So let's put our overlord outside our base there, and also another overlord down there. Now, the Baneling Nest does nothing for you if you don't actually have Zerglings ready to build it. So I'm going to build 8 safety Zerglings. And guys, we're learning a Zerg vs Zerg build. And we're going to do a very good Zerg vs Zerg build. So all we're going to do is play Ling Bane. And this is already a bit of a divergence, and I'm sure some people are like, well, what? ZVZ is a very different matchup, and the most important skill to become a really solid, well-rounded Zerg vs Zerg player is Ling Bane micro. So there are some Baneling micro notes. We're going to leave one guy there, and then we're going to go. And all we're doing is building Ling Bane to learn this. There's some Ling Bane stuff in the top of the document for the Bronze to GM. You guys can consult those documents. What we're going to do is we're going to go across, going to morph a whole bunch of Banelings, steal those onto a different key, click them in the mineral line, and we'll poke around with our Zerglings. Probably shouldn't have ran up the ramp like that. All right, we're not ready to go just yet with the Banelings. So we're just gonna see if we can get one more injected in time. Ugh. There we go. All right, let's go. And what we're gonna do is A-move the Lings, and then we wanna shift-click on the clumped up Banelings. I messed up the shift-click, I did it a little too late there. And now we're gonna keep morphing Banelings here on the map, while A-moving Zerglings. We can't inject just yet. And let's see if we can get in there. And we're going to keep building Lings and doing macro cycles. So, this is stage 1 of Zerg versus Zerg. So, I have a guide on this on YouTube that is the best way to learn Zerg versus Zerg in Legacy of the Void, in my opinion. And basically, you do your normal 3-base opening, whatever that is. Oh, I forgot to put a guy back on gas. Whoops. So that's a bit low on gas. And then you go across the map. So let's talk about what we do. We went a bit higher on workers than I normally do. Normally, I would start building Lings from about 32, 33 supply. Somewhere about there. Maybe 34 at the highest. If we think about it, I've got 2 queens plus 26 plus 3, 29 drones. So yeah, that's about right actually. 29 drones plus 2 queens is 33 supply, making Ling Bane from there. Okay, yeah, that's about right. So about 10 drones on your natural, and then all you do is build Ling Bane. Now, ideally, I would have already had some Lings on the map, and I could have... You always want to keep an eye on where your opponent's overlords are. So you want to try and go across the map, and if you can avoid them, right? So that overlord, if I run down here and run off to the side, it's really obvious to my opponent that I'm going to morph sneaky Banelings. But if I realize, okay, he has vision there, what can we do? We can grab these guys, we can go out that way, and then we can go over there and morph Banelings. Now, bonus points if you morph your Banelings spread out. If you morph them like that, they're going to be all in a clump where 2 enemy Banelings can kill your Banelings. That's fudged, dude. That's fudged. So what's an easier way to do it is just as you're still running, tap, 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 tap. And notice that when I click those in, they're going to maintain a natural spread. I should have spread them a little more because obviously those ones will finish sooner than these. So they're going to clump a little more than I'd like. But the idea is it takes 2 Banelings to kill Banelings. So you want your Banelings to be naturally spread out so they can't just go, bam, 2 Banelings kill 8 of yours. Okay? And then you just basically rally across the map. And all you do is build nothing but Zergling Baneling. And you try to kill your opponent. And this is just a good exercise to learn Ling Bane micro. And just treat your ladder games as an exercise in that. And every time I morph Banelings, what do? So I'll show you guys what I just did. So everything's on one control group. So as I'm running across the map, and let's just use these guys. 28 Zerglings on my hotkey. We're gonna morph Banelings. Okay. Control click the Banelings in the bottom wireframe. Alt 3. And then run my Zerglings back. If we want to see if there's Banelings on top of a ramp, always send a Zergling first. And then with the Banelings, as soon as you've control grouped them, you click them straight into a mineral line. Now, why do we do that? Because notice they're pre-spread, and this puts pressure on your opponent to intercept them before they get in the mineral line. If there's no many drones on the natural, you click in the main. And this way you can focus 90% of your APM on the Zerglings, because the drones are queued up. They will do their job regardless. The only time you need to look at the Banelings is when they get to the mineral line. Now, well, what if 30 Zerglings run up and you want to blow them up? Do not fucking chase the Zerglings, because if you do, look at what's happened. I just fucked up my spread. If he pulls back, that's really bad. So if your opponent does present a big target and you want to go kill them, grab a Baneling, send it over there, and use your manual detonation button. You can A-move to get it to blow up, but it's better to use your manual detonation to just get it to instantly set off, because otherwise it needs to be in direct melee contact before it will choose to explode. Now, the other thing that you need to focus on as a player is when they reach the mineral line, shift-click on the drones. Now, why do we do that? The reason is Banelings are fucking stupid brain-dead units. The Baneling does massive damage versus light. It's great versus clump drones, clump zerglings. It's terrible versus everything else. Now, if you leave it to its own devices, it will run up and blow up on a lava or an egg, which is a big waste of the Baneling. It'll take 8 or 10 Banelings. I think it's 10 Banelings, maybe 9 to kill a queen. And yet, if you just leave them, say I click on this drone, the moment they've killed that drone, they don't have another order. And what are they going to do when they don't have an order? That could have killed 40 workers, and instead, what do? They damaged a queen in a hatchery. Because the moment they've killed the unit you've clicked them on, they've fulfilled their current order. If you don't have another order queued after that, they're going to just blow up on whatever's next to them. A Baneling sees an individual Zergling, a unit worth 1/3 its cost, it'll blow up on that individual Zergling. So Banelings always need to have an order queued up. And this is also why we always are very methodical with what do, guys? We steal them onto a different control group, and then we micro them by, oh, they're getting close to the mineral line, we double tap that. And if you can build this organization, you are an infinitely better Ling Bane player. Steal them. Zerglings can run around. Now, what about if there's a Baneling up there? How can I, rather than trying to click a Zergling and then click it up there, that's bad. You don't want to ever be clicking Zerglings on screen if you can avoid it, guys. So what's an easier way? I can go A-move, Shift deselect, pull back, remake hotkey. Those two Zerglings will run up and just attack whatever's there. Banelings, whatever. Oh, I forgot to click my Banelings after morphing them, guys. GG, bad pig, bad pig. It's one big sequence, and you stitch this together. I've coached hundreds of players who I've taught this build to, and some of them never get the habit of doing this correctly. They just don't drill it enough. It's hard to learn initially if you're not used to it, but it makes perfect sense. You're literally queuing up an attack and putting all the pressure on them, which means you can spend time injecting. You can get further ahead on economy. You can do all the other things. Click the Banelings into the mineral line, and then we can micro our Zerglings. Okay, send 2 Zerglings in there. Okay, micro, fight. Inject, build more Zerglings. Micro. The attack sets itself up. You don't have to do so much. Now, obviously, I get those a bit clumped. They're a little clumped. Your opponent might get a good money hit if they time it correctly. You can do a little bit of extra spreading. Bonus points if you do that. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. That is the end of the world. Notice what just happened there. So that's why you got to be careful. If you ever change angle, so like people will do that, right? Where they're like, look, my Banelings are so well spread out. But you need to be spread out in a column facing your opponents. If you spread out this way, they're just going to clump up. It doesn't make any sense. So you've got to be in a column facing the enemy. So arguably, it's probably a better attack path to come from the north just to keep your Banelings more spread. So you're going in there and you're like, oh, there's no drones? Click in the main. And they're going to at least maintain some semblance of a spready. Once again. Ah, we didn't give them the move command quick enough. They fucking... So you got to give those commands early if possible. Or you got to fucking spam click like a mother trucker. But GG, well played. That is our ZVZ build, and now we're in Diamond. It's time to learn a different build for each matchup. And that is a drastic departure, but it's going to simplify the mirror matchup down to some mechanical techniques and details that are going to make you a much better player and teach you how to play Ling Bane. People are going to call you names. You cheese me, dickhead. You cheese me, we forgot to play the rewind game. No! Bad pig. I think my opponent went to 40 workers in that game. Actually, 30, let's say 30. I think my opponent went to about 36 workers. So we can check. No! I didn't get to check the graph in time! I reckon it was about 36, guys. Alright. Oh, is this Zerg vs. Zerg again? Looks like we might get some repetitions of this. Awesome. Hopefully this player puts up a bit more of a fight. Have we got music on right now? We do. It's just a little slow on that Overlord. That's okay. So we're going to go there with the Overlord. The other Overlord will come to the front. So on this map, we just want to make sure that other Overlord goes through to see any early pull coming our way. And let's remember to go pull first again, guys. Let's stick to our normal build. We went hatch first in that last game because we were a bit busy reading chat and talking about a lot of things. It did work out very similar. But, you know, it just changes things a little bit. You don't want to be making changes for no good reason. Because it can form bad habits there where your timings are a little bit different. And then you're like, hey, why isn't this ready when it's meant to be? And you're like, oh, it's because I did my build differently, shit. And you should always have consistency in StarCraft unless there is a good reason not to, right? So what do I mean by that? I mean, a lot of players just start randomly doing things differently because they feel it's good to be unpredictable or vary their play. The problem is your opponent is already going to send 1,000 different things at you. Every opponent's different. They all play different strategies. Reacting to those things from a consistent position is something you can learn to do and evolve over time. But if you're reacting to it from a different situation every game, it's really hard to like learn and draw conclusions because your reaction is going to be a little different because the build order you're going to that reaction from is different. If that makes sense, essentially you're giving yourself a harder position for training, just specifically by adding variability to your play, which is going to multiply on the variability of the many different strategies that your opponents will throw your way. It just makes life way harder than it needs to be. I really advise you guys don't do that. And this is the same fast third hatch opening. It's just, as I said, we don't get a third queen and we just do nothing but Ling bane in this matchup. Otherwise it's very similar. Okay, inject, go down there. This person's Overlord you saw was way too close to mine. So we're actually gonna put our Overlord over the pillar to spot it and then do that. Our Lings are gonna go for a scout around their base. And we're okay to lose those Zerglings, we don't really care. Now that Overlord pulled back, but I have a feeling it's on the pillar, so we just want to make sure he doesn't get any free scouting info.
Forces are under attack.
So we're going to go out to the third base now. We see Ling speed on the way. Oh, what's that, guys? We saw a building go down. Let's just click on that. It's a baneling nest. Let's get that third base. Keep droning here. And it looks like he has pulled back. I don't think he's sitting on the pillar. We're just checking. Doesn't look like it.
Thanks for the
These
Bezos
Overlords are going to go there. Baneling Nest is late again. Oh, it's meant to be down at 250, guys. Whew. 306, 305. That's a very late Baneling Nest. So I've been very naughty there. So we're going to build 2 Overlords while we're getting ready to go into non-stop Ling bane. This attack actually does hit a little bit faster and smoother if you go hatch first, to be honest. That is one thing. To be fair, I don't think it'll matter until we get to maybe Masters or maybe Masters 2. So we're building a lot of Zerglings. Remember I said let's try and hide 4 Zerglings across the map. So these guys are going to go across through the middle, but they're going to veer off and try to hide up there to make Banelings. Behind this, all we're doing is making more Zerglings. We could make 1 more Baneling, but I don't think we'll need to. Okay, and you know what, guys? Let's go for it. Baneling's morphing, and they're already on a different hotkey. And we're making more and more Zerglings. We're rallying across the map here. Let's make another Overlord, and let's go. And I'm making as many Banelings as I can, clicking them in the mineral line. And remember, we'll just go there. Oh, that's a lot of Zerglings. Oh no. We can spread those Banelings out if we want. So remember, we want to try and click the Banelings into the mineral lines. Baneling was coming forward for him. Let's run back and do an inject. So our Lings are disengaging because this is stressful. And we're doing other things. So now we'll go, okay, let's just micro the Banes, 1 thing at a time. Shift click. And we're just going to keep making more Banelings and just keep clicking them in. And now we can go back in with the Banelings when we have a second. So we're going to attack the third. And notice I just keep clicking these Banelings in. And this time I'm not even clicking them on the drones because I don't want them to lose the orders. And I keep making Banelings and clicking them in. And we're just going to kill our opponent by just rallying Banelings, right? So, rewind. How many workers do we think our opponent had, guys? Oh, I think, you guys guess in chat. Guess in chat. Don't look, don't look, don't look. Guess in chat, guess in chat. I think when my attack first hit my opponent, I think the natural looked pretty full of workers. So I'm going to say 1 gas, 2 bases of minerals. It's about 35 drones. Let's say about 35. That's what I think. So let's check. The rewind game. This is something we should play every game. As I said, guys, we also can benchmark our attack to see how well we did. See what timing we hit. $29. So I was off by 6 workers. It wasn't full. I didn't pay too much attention. They were actually short a few workers there, and they were short 1 worker on gas in the main. Cool. Now, unfortunately, my opponent, you can see, didn't use army keys, so Ling Bane is not really the composition for them. If you guys don't want to, if you're following along B2GM and you haven't learnt the control groups, don't do this style. Don't play Banelings. Banelings are not the unit for you. Because notice my opponent was unable to automatically move their Banelings and Queens to the front. All their Queens should have been on a defensive control group. The moment their Overlords saw me coming across the map, all the Queens, if they weren't, at least one of them should have already been on the creep group. They should have all come to the front. And then if they just moved some Banelings around them in circles, it would have stopped me coming up the ramp. The Banelings could have been shot down 1 or 2 at a time by the Queens. And my attack could have been easily stopped. But if you are someone who doesn't use control groups, I would advise you to do a 2-base evolution chamber style. 2 Evo chambers and a Roach Warren with a Queen in the wall of 3 Queens. And you just don't take any gas at first. And then you just take 2 gases at maybe like 3 minutes, 3:20, something like that. And it'll go really well. So yeah, I kept clicking those Banelings in there. Now, at a certain point, I was running into some issues, guys. Now, one of my issues is my Banelings out here stopped attacking. They would pause because I had so many Banelings that I was morphing like across the map and constantly queuing in, and then I'd queue it and I'd kill the drones, or I'd lose vision on those drones and they'd lose the order. So in between queuing, because I was queuing not just 2 or 4 Banelings coming in, I was queuing also Baneling cocoons back here. I should have been queuing up right clicks on the ground as well in between and after targeting, like after targeting the drones. So it should have been like, or as my Banelings run up the ramps, I should have been like boxing those Banelings and manually controlling them a little bit. They're like, oh, there's 4 Banelings. Okay, I'll just box those 4 and shift click them on the drones. Because it just meant I needed to keep selecting my control group and giving a new move command in. Because once I killed these drones, or I lost vision of those units, the other Banelings sometimes would bug out a little bit. See, these Banelings like, dude, we can't see that drone that we're clicked on. So they just kind of stopped moving. Yeah. The opponent's using the, of course, the opponent's using the select all army key, 100%. Yeah, they're an F2 player for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. And they have all their drones on a control group for some reason as well. I'm not sure why. But yeah. So rally the Banes in, mother truckers, and keep making them, keep rallying them. And I think what's so fun about this, and what I want to hit home, because I'm not sure if we'll get any more Zerg versus Zergs, I'm going to wrap up on this game and we'll continue Diamond in a second, is keep in mind, it is about a macro cycle. That's what I'm finding. In this most chaotic of all StarCraft situations, what am I finding, guys? If I can queue my Banelings in, and then in a moment, if I'm afraid, if there's Banelings, remember there was a moment or two where I just clicked my Zerglings back because I said, I have other things to do. I can't watch the fight. This is where 90% of players go, I gotta kill him, I gotta kill him. And they A-move their Zerglings and they all run into a Baneling and die. But if we just pull back here, like I did, remember I did that at one point in this game, right? We're in there, we're fighting, we're skirmishing, but then Banelings come forward. I pulled back and I was like, oh, actually there's not too many Banelings. Okay, we can keep fighting. And then I was like, no. And I just click them way back and I go home and I do an inject and I build more Zerglings and I go back and I micro my Ling Bane. But whenever I'm worried or stressed, I just click them way back. Because the one thing you can really fuck up is running all of your Zerglings into your opponent's Banelings. That's where the biggest danger is. So just pull your Lings back whenever you're looking elsewhere, whenever you're busy, and focus on the injects. Keep the units coming, keep the Banelings morphing, and keep these Banelings going to the mineral lines. And this is such a reliable attack against most players. And because you're learning how to really cleanly build an aggressive system where you have this non-stop machine, it's not about every Baneling finding the mark. It's about there being an endless wave that will eventually overwhelm your opponent because they're not injecting, they're not producing, and they are falling apart. All right, guys. Let's see. Do we get Diamond 2? What's the response with this build if they've walled off with a Roach Warren and Evos? So whenever your opponent's being very defensive and turtly or very greedy, you can either go very all in or you can go very greedy. So depending on which way you want to go, you can just still do the Ling Bane all in, and you'd be surprised how many people's walls you smash through. If you hit that build correctly, you'd really be surprised how many people's walls you could just tear down. Alternatively, you basically just drone up, don't commit to any Ling Bane. You go, oh, this player doesn't even have Ling speed, cool, and play to the next stage. Now that could be just go up into a big 40 drone mass Roach Ling Bane attack, or we could go a bit further in the game and go up to like 3 base, maybe double upgrade Roach Ravager, Roach Hydra, something like that. So once we get somewhere into Diamond 2, if we hit it in just one game, I want to play at least a few games of Roach Hydra, and then we're going to swap over to Mutas, which is going to be a real kind of learning process, because it's going to push us just to be more active as a player. And that's going to open up a lot of lessons around how to manage much more kind of micro, macro, right? There's going to be a lot more consistency of that, where we are going to need to be very refined with how we do it. And we're also going to have more information. So there's going to be more, because we're going to be a bit more fragile, there's going to be more backstabbing and counter-attacking rather than fighting front on, as would naturally happen with that style. Okay. Overlord normally goes to the pillar. Oof. It's only been a week, but it feels like longer, guys. So I'm going to be trying to remember my build. All of my settings are not right. These are all on casting settings. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, and we go, that goes there, and then to the sacrifice position. All right, it's coming back to me. It's coming back to me. Let's just put on some music real quick. It's way too quiet right now. I don't like playing without the music. All right, so we're gonna go 17 pool. We're still doing 17 pool. This is just a very safe way to play. And we can already rally this drone down here, right? And that's something we could do. Previously, we were always kind of, actually, yeah. We started that drone a second late. Never mind. And we're going to go there because that guy needs a buddy. So now they're all perfectly paired up. All right. Now we're playing a Zerg vs TERRAN in this game. We're going to add that to the camera, to the hotkey, build another drone, build a gas. That guy will rally there, which makes 16 workers on minerals. And then the extra workers rally onto the gas. Now I haven't set up my other camera locations. 3rd base, 4th base, 5th base. I should have done that earlier. And this is the first day I've actually hopped straight into Bronze to GM without warming up first. So we'll see if that affects me at all. I'm going to build the 2 Zerglings before the Overlord here. That's fine. And they can already rally across the map. Now, beyond that, there is a jump-in point here on this map where Reaper could come. So we're going to put our first Overlord just straight out there, which kind of covers this front area and that path. We're going to queue up our 2nd Queen straight away. And is there a command center? Not yet. We're trying to just build drones, inject, go to the natural. Now, at this point, I'm a little worried that there's proxy barracks. I'm about to get marine rushed, but we'll find that out in a moment if that's the case. Full 2 workers off gas, keep building drones. Oh, I forgot to send my rally point down here as well. So very disorganized play this morning. You guys ever wake up and you're just not 100%? 3 barracks, a reactor attack lab, and an engineering bay. And the command center is already finished. This is a command center first, because normally the command center starts at about 1:40, and a command center, hatchery, or nexus, they all take the same time. They all take 70 seconds to build, guys. Attack that. So that means, because the orbital was already finishing upgrading, that means he went that before anything else. Now, you also could have just sensed that, because you could have said, well, they normally have Reapers, Marines, stuff out by now. This game, he doesn't. So it's not exactly rocket science to realize, hey, this guy's done something different, right? It's not like you're having to absolutely do anything crazy. Now, if they've gone command center first, that is greedier than normal, right? So how do I react to command center first? Very common question I get, and the answer is you don't. The only thing is you just need to be less worried about attacks than normal in the immediate time. So right now, I am super chilled out. Why? Because what the hell could he possibly do to me? Nothing. He can't do anything. Now, we want to rally straight to our third base, guys. Why? Because this base is already saturated. Let's also build another queen. And this is our creep queen, spreading creep out. Now, about 4 minutes, we want to get our tech. Now, we're still playing Roach Hydra for now, so we'll get a Roach Warren. Just building drones. Now, notice we can see a lot of Marines building up, which could be a little worrying to me. Let's send our Overlord through. I don't think we really need to be honest, but it can still give us information, so why not? Macro cycle, inject, inject, build drones, and we can spread some creep there. Now, let's change the rally points back. Why? Because we need to go those layer and gases. I'm doing them a little bit later this time. Let's tell that queen to go inject that third base. But you can see that as long as each rally point goes back to its own mineral line, then we should be able to saturate these. So what are we doing? We're just going to grab drones off and put those there. We've got a few too many guys out there. Now remember, a lot of the time with this new build, I was going straight to Roach Hydra. Let's get the double Evo chamber as well a little bit earlier. Because with this build, I'm going to build 2 drones there. Let's rally. Let's build these drones. That's 4 more plus 12 equals 16. And then we can take the gases on the third. Now, obviously, I don't have any fighting units, and he has a lot of bio. So all I'm building right now is overlords and then a shitload of roaches, because we've already been beyond greedy. And you could argue that this was too greedy, especially for such a small map, because even though I've got good map vision, if he pushed out, well, I might have died there. So we've just done an inject, inject, inject. We're not following our macro cycles very well. This is a little bit chaotic. This is really bad. Stop being chaotic. Slow down. Organization. Put guys on gas, put guys on gas. Extra overlords, 5 overlords at once. We're clicking them all to the back so they don't get killed. So, we're going to wait for our injects to sync up. For now, what are we doing? Spreading creep. And you only need 1 creep tumor on each path. Inject, inject, inject. Now you can see I didn't fully saturate my third, but like I said, we're already in a bit of danger potentially from how greedy I was. And we're 5 workers under saturation. That's not a big deal. If I want to, now that I've started Roach production and I haven't seen him coming across the map, I could build those extra drones. But if my opponent was moving out, I would 100% be doing nothing but building units right now. So let's add, we'll add a few more drones here. There we go, 4 more drones. That'll basically saturate it. Now, what are we missing? Well, an overseer to spot the high ground is always really good. We can see that's a pretty big army. Bio tank, inject, inject, inject. Lots of roaches. Let's break some rocks down. We can start getting these Hydra upgrades. Now, this is a pretty good roach army, and it's tempting to go fight straight away. Oh, look, our Zergling, without me even doing anything, killed the SCV on the command center. But the reason why you don't actually want to just be going straight for things like that is, well, it just doesn't make sense for you as a player after spending so long building up your economy and only a little bit of time building army to immediately go fight. We want to wait a little bit longer. Those upgrades are about 20 seconds from finishing. So what are we doing? The same thing we always do. Building more roaches, trying to inject, backing off. I'm almost supply blocked. Now we see he's there. Alt 3. So we're going to split off some roaches to come from the bottom. This changeling's going to track where he is. Okay, so we're going to set up a sandwich. So those guys are there. 1-1 is now finished. Inject, inject, inject.
Our forces are on the field, depleted.
Okay, so let's do it, guys. F2, A move. And then I can box these guys. And move those on top. And then we can throw them all back into one army key, back on number 2. Inject, inject, inject. All I'm doing is building roaches right now. We want to make +2 range, +2 carapace while they're going across the map. If we can make a 4th base, that's going to be awesome. And let's look at our army as it goes in.
Mineral field.
I'm a little supply blocked on 170 still, so let's build some overlords. And what are we doing, guys? Move in, A move. Move in, A move. Move in, A move. From here, probably just A move. And it looks like they're doing the job. So remember, whenever our units are already doing their job, we can go home and macro. You can notice that was a set piece there. How did I do that so fast? It's because it's something that I always do in this scenario. If I identify I've already won a fight, I go to the main at around that point anywhere, because past, remember, 8:30 to 9 minutes is when your main half mine's out. So what do? You go to your main, and we want to lower this down to about 8 workers. I pulled a few more workers out than I needed to. And my 4th is already on the way, so I both grab them, I box, jump to my 4th location, click on the minerals, and then I take the 2 gases, is what I did there. And that's something which we can just repeat over and over. Now let's rewind a little bit and let's play the rewind game. So, that attack, my opponent hit me with a big attack of bio tank, didn't seem to have any medevacs with it. I think my opponent had 1-1 upgrades when they attacked. And I don't think 2-2 was even started. Let's check. So here's that big fight, which we can look at again. So my opponent also stimmed. I didn't even realize he did have 2 medevacs, but I had 1-1 upgrades. 2-2 was not started. Didn't have a wall off on the natural. And made 1-1 all off a single eBay. It was the eBay that he walled off with earlier. So yeah. So my opponent was kind of doing a command center first into... It was almost like a 2-base bio tank all in, I guess you could argue this build is, right? But definitely, you saw how my opponent dilly-dallied. My opponent pushed across the map and then did a classic thing, which is hadn't scouted or done any opening harassment at all, so didn't know where my expansion was. And when they saw I didn't have an expansion here, they kind of went, ah! And instead of just continuing to push forward or pulling back, they rotated all the way across creep to try and attack the other angle of the front. And all this does is give your opponent tons of time to prepare. So yeah, not the greatest play from my opponent there. In terms of worker count, my opponent was frozen on just 2 bases of workers and trying to take a 3rd on location behind it, which of course my Zergling kind of messed up for my opponent, which was a real bummer for him. So he was, yeah, just kind of behind on the macro train. Now let's go back a little bit. So one thing we're noticing is more and more, as we've started doing the quicker 3rd build, we're being a little bit more discerning about when we want to build army. And because we keep running into players who are very defensive, we are delaying it later and later. Now this is a reactive thing. If I wanted to build roaches earlier, I could do that, right? Now, why are we swapping to this version? We're not doing the 36 roach run anymore, right? We're getting it at 4 minutes. And if we were doing banelings instead of roaches, 4 minutes for that. But you notice that we're just delaying the gas, the lair, and the actual roach production quite a while. What does this allow us to do? It allows us to have a very quickly saturated 3rd base. And this is a huge advantage. This is such a huge advantage. So basically the whole point of getting a faster 3rd base up is that so much more minerals, which even though your gas is a little bit delayed, your roach production is a little bit delayed, having a full extra base mining. Remember in my other games, this is the point where I'd be like, okay, we're building roaches now, and we're just kind of massing roaches off 2 base for a while. And if I do drone the 3rd, it's between that like 6 to 7 to 8 minute mark, right? It's much later. In this game, this is fully saturated at like 4:30, something like that. It's getting very close to fully saturated at 4 minutes 30. That's a whole extra base, 33% extra mineral mining. And especially when you're putting drones into extractors, evo chambers, hydras, this is huge. And this is going to be even more important to always get that up as we swap into mutaplay in a couple of games time. So for now though, it's really cool, but we are defending with less units. What do we have, guys? 4 queens, 1 for injecting at each base and 1 creep queen. And we've got Zergling tech. So It's one of those things where you could argue, hey, you've seen a lot of units from your opponent. You know they have 3 barracks. Isn't this greedy? And I would argue, yes. If I wanted to give a completely safe way of playing here, and remember, the reason why I was comfortable being greedy is that because it's just bio, it's not like Hellions or Zerglings that can get across the map very quickly. They kind of have to slowly walk out, and I'm going to see them the moment they leave with the Overlord and the Zerglings. So I knew I'd have a lot of time to prepare against this sort of attack, even though it's not the biggest map. I know the moment he moves out, I'm just pumping Zerg, roaches, pumping roaches will be good, right? Maybe build a spine or 2 if I need it. But what if I wanted to be really safe? I think I could argue if we wanted a set safety plan, we don't have to react as quickly. I'd say something like, oh, okay, well, maybe off about 50 or 55 workers, which is where we are now, right? We're at 57 workers, about to spend a bunch of those workers building gases and so on. Somewhere around here, oh, if I build 10 roaches, so I have the beginnings of an army ready, and then go back to drones, if they do push out, I've already got the starting point. Because small forces surprisingly moving out, you can just build units and react, right, with production. But the longer they've been building that army in size, it is going to hit a point where they've built that army over 3 minutes, and you're like, oh, I can match that in 45 seconds of responding, and it's like, yeah, not really. You're going to be in some trouble. So this is a little bit on the greedier end of things. If they attacked at exactly this moment here, I might have been in trouble. Now, one advanced detail, which I think I may have mentioned once, is I'm a little more comfortable towing that line of greed here because we leave a very big supply gap free. We just filled it up there with roaches, but we've already got 3 overlords popping at that exact moment. So I've always got at least 20 or 30 supply free during this stage, and I should be building a lot more overlords now as I just built a round of roaches. Let's see how well I do at that. Because the smaller that supply gap is, the more screwed you are. 5 overlords. If they surprise you with a move out and your supply is full, you can't build units. You're totally fudged. Fudged, that's right. Cool. Let's read questions. We'll see what happens. And it's 50% more mineral mining. That is correct. 50% more. Yes. You are correct. I'm good with numbers, chat. What can I say? I'm sure there's gonna be like 37 YouTube comments. Oh, you said the word wrong. Thank you, Invast. Appreciate it. Okay. I missed the very start. Why is it 17 pool, 16 hatch? It's 17 pool, 17 hatch, 17 gas. Very simple opening. Why is it that? Because it's good and safe. That's all. Pool first is the most flexible, safe opening in StarCraft. It means defending Reapers, proxy barracks, cannon rushes, all is infinitely easier, and it barely puts you behind from a hatch first. Yeah. Cool. I don't think there was any other questions on this game, so we can move into the next one. If they were actually going to do a tight 2-base all-in, what drone count would you cut at, says Block. So here's a question from an advanced player. Cutting drones. That's the terminology, by the way, for anyone who's maybe not as up-to-date on that. So cutting drones. Where do you cut drones, right? My opponent essentially is doing what we would call like a 45 SCV, 44 SCV. It's a 2-base committed attack. Is he taking a third behind it? Yes. But it was essentially, I'm just making a giant army off 2-base and coming and trying to kill you. Now, you could argue here, I was being way too greedy. I went to 64. I actually tried to go to 66, but I went to 64 drones, right? Now, the reason this was fine in this scenario is because I was so greedy from the start. I was so efficient from the start. I hit my build super tight, and you will find if you are very good at just executing a clean opening, you can usually get away with being a full base ahead of workers like I was here. Now, if I was also going Aspire, an Infestation Pit, Hydra Den, and taking a 4th base, and taking a macro hatch, well, maybe not, right? Because it's not just worker count. It's also if you're investing in 27 different things. So for me, in this case, if I was building Hydras right now, they wouldn't be a very good fighting unit because they don't have their upgrades yet. Do not build Hydras before these upgrades are finished. You need at least one of them finished before you build them at all. Preferably, you want the second one already on the way by the time you start building Hydras, because in small numbers, without upgrades, they suck. Roaches are a much cheaper, more efficient unit, in the small to medium term at least. So what would the technical thing be? Well, what I'm getting at here is it's flexible. If you're ahead off the opening, so say you do a Zergling run by and kill 10 SCVs at the start, you can have a bigger supply gap than your opponent. I could be at 75 workers and still defend a 2-base attack. Because I've put him behind. I'm able to get away with more. So keep it, I'm introducing this concept that there is a flexible supply gap there, right? It changes based on how far ahead you are. If you're behind in the game, you feel like you've had a really bad start. Hellions came in and burnt a bunch of drones, and then you scout. Your opponent doesn't have a third command center, and is building a big bio tank army off just 5 barracks, a factory and a starport. You might stop at the same worker count as the Terran. You might be like, well, he's going to kill me off 45 SCVs. Rather than trying to build an economic advantage, you might stop at 45 drones, do nothing but build units, tons of roaches, roach speed, and then wait for him to come to you. So you have enough army to crush that fight, and then you can go kill him and win the game. And then you can drone up. But either way, you've taken such an efficient engagement. It's made up for the fact that your economy kind of sucks, right? So the default thing is a lot of people always try to get the worker lead and then defend it. What I'm introducing here is just many different options you have in flexibility in terms of that's almost like a defensive all-in, right? It's where you're like, oh, I have to build so much army just to survive. So I'm kind of going to build this giant army and I really hope he comes to me so I can take that good fight to get back in the game, which is always an exciting concept and a cool way of doing it. In general, it depends on the matchup and it depends on the tech and all of this sort of stuff. So what is a safe drone lead? That changes all the time. And I have a whole video breaking this down in my Welcome to StarCraft series. There's a whole video, I believe it's called What is a Safe Lead, or how much can I drone or something like that. Someone can link it up in the chat. I'm not sure what the name of the exact video is. It's years since I did it. But it breaks this concept down in more detail where it points out like, hey, if you're building really basic units and not investing in a lot of tech, you can have a bigger drone advantage and so on. Let's bring it back to generalities. Let's bring it back. What is a basic rule that I can apply? What is a basic rule? Let's say a very safe advantage usually is about 10 workers. About 10 workers above your opponent, totally fine. So I think we can say 10 drones. Now, what you got to remember though, as a Zerg player, is that doesn't always mean you build just 10 workers more than your opponent. Why? Because you're always going to be losing workers as a Zerg. Why? Well, number one, harassment, but more importantly, you're using your Zerg, your drones to build buildings. So it's natural to overshoot a bit more than 10 drones, because then you turn some into extractors, maybe you build a spine or a spore crawler. It's very easy if you play too conservative with your worker count to get in trouble. So just remember to play on the greedier side with the drones. If you're thinking, oh, I need a 10 worker advantage, rather than stopping at 55 workers against the 2-base all-in, go to 60. And then if you build some spores or some other things, you've got a little bit more breathing room. So I think that's a kind of good way to think of it. Plock says, so do we assume a 2-base all-in is 45 workers? Absolutely. A full 2 bases is 45 workers. Now there's a lot of different details on different things, like what if a Protoss does a charge zealot all-in, where they completely pull off gas mining and they never even take the gas in their main base, in their natural expansion. So they don't have gases there and they've stopped mining. That means they've only got 2 mineral lines. 16 times 16 equals 32. So there are very specific all-ins where you don't even have that. There's Protoss vs TERRAN all-ins where they build a nexus and then they only build a handful of probes for it, drop a bunch of gateways and just go for a big 4-gate bus, but they've pretended to expand. Is this map that good for Zerg? Just play like Clev. I like that Clem is Maru in this matchup now. Like, just play like Clem, bro. It's not even that hard. It's not even that hard, bro. I sit here in my underpants, eating a falafel and watching pig, crumbs falling on my fruit of the loons as I nod and say, hell yeah, Jared, you teach him what means something about economy. Actual top pro player explanation. Roaches! What the fuck? How you doing, dude? Okay. Alright, guys, let's kill this. Okay. Overlord didn't queue across the map, so let's fix this up. Let's get a little bit more organization here, shall we? So, we'll go in there and then there. We see a Reaper, so all things standard. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide a Zergling because we know that Reaper's coming. So this guy's going to see if he can kill the SCV. But this Zergling will go around and try to kill that guy. Notice the Reaper's already coming for me, but I'm not going to waste too much time microing it. We're just going to go, whatever. Start Ling speed, pull 2 workers off gas. So we should have 16 on minerals, 1 on gas, and we just scan the mineral line and see that yes, they are all doubled up nicely. Now let's go take that third base, and it looks like, yeah, the Reaper killed that. Now is that the end of the world? No. At the very least, you've kept the, inject. You've kept the Reaper away from your base. And then remember, guys, what's the rule? Third base, about 32, immediately go for a third queen afterwards. That will become our creep queen. And then an overlord right after that to make sure we don't forget it. Now, I personally will build 2 more Zerglings, and I'll put them up here just to stop any Reaper jumping in. Other than that, though, we're pretty chilled. We are supply blocked, so let's build another overlord. Inject, build the drones, and we can take those 2 drones. Notice they just started building, guys. Control click in there. I could have built the 2 drones and manually done that. I just forgot to. Now we see the Reaper here. So bring our queen up. Just A-move the queen, and then we're going to A-move the queen straight back to my hatchery. So this is the creep queen. Inject. More drones. And remember, this base is saturated, so let's try and saturate that third base. It's also past 345, so let's go straight through the base and see what we can see. And check it out, we know there's Hellions. You can move your overlord a little further over if you want to double check that sort of stuff. So what we're going to do is we'll build a few more Zerglings, and we'll keep them in our natural to kind of help stop run-bys. We'll build an extra queen there for injecting. And that's a very quick third command center, isn't it? Otherwise building Hellions, and there's a starport which could have already built like a Liberator or something. So we'll build a Spore in our most exposed edge bases just to try and deal with that. Now it's past 4 minutes, so that's a little bit late. Let's get the Roach Horn, start taking gases. Notice we're setting the rally points back. We're gonna have to use this queen and these Zerglings to try and defend. So if you move past and cut off their retreat, that's always awesome. Notice I'm queuing that queen to A-move and then inject. Meanwhile, I'm looking away. Why am I looking away? Because I identified that that was no longer a problem. And check it out, we're gonna be lazy. Build 3 drones, click. Reselect hatcheries, build 3 drones, click. Go to our third, set all the rally points back there, build some more drones. Build a bunch of overlords, and let's keep spreading creep. Cool. Let's put some Zergling spotters out. So once the Hellions were out, we couldn't really have spotters. But if they all throw their lives away, then we can. So inject. Grab 2 workers. Build a few more drones. A few more overlords. We can take these gases. What do we need, guys? Double Evo chamber. I think that was an SCV that was on the watchtower. Now, if you're really practiced with your build, if you remember when things happen and it's like clockwork, the easier it is for your eyes to scan that minimap while I'm doing these things. I can do this. I'm actually looking at the minimap while I'm doing it, guys. Inject. Building roaches, building overlords. I'm watching the minimap that entire time, which is why we see these Marines coming out. And we go, oh, okay, he's going to take the watchtower off me. It's fine. Roach speed and 1/1 upgrades. Let's get the Hydra upgrade. You can hover over this worker count. If you ever lose track of your economy, we're very close to 66. We're just a little bit under in our main base. So we'll build a few drones to replace that. Let's make an Overseer, because we haven't done that. And if you want to be really annoying, tell that Zergling to hold position. Now this overlord here, we can try to run backwards. It doesn't matter, it'll probably die. Inject, inject, inject. What are we doing, guys? We're building roaches, we're building hydras. Now, roaches and hydras, up against most things, you're the short range army, but especially against Terran. So let's start breaking rocks to open up paths. And notice we are spreading creep. Just a couple tumors on each path, all we need. Always drop changelings whenever you can and just click them in. Extra vision. One overseer with our army as well. More roaches, more roaches. Inject, inject, inject. More roaches, more roaches. I think he might have those marines out there. So I'm going to send 3 roaches to that watchtower to clear it. And I'm going to put the zerglings out on this watchtower. Oh, so what you can do is you click it on the army. And then that's going to follow. Cool. Let's queue the hydra upgrades. Inject, inject, inject. Let's start adding some hydras in here. Probably a bit too early for hydras since we don't have the upgrades. I was just telling you guys how bad they are without the upgrades. And here I am building them a little bit early in the game. That's acceptable because I'm not under any pressure right now. But definitely something which is, you know, don't break your own rules. Now here's a cute little thing. A cute idea, guys, is, well, if I want factory, if we see a reactor, it means widow mines. If we see a tech lab, it means tanks. Is this something that's worth wasting our time thinking about normally? No. No, 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 no. But just a little thing to understand how their production works. Oh, oi, ow. So what we're gonna do is build a queen, and this will become my new creep queen. And let's open these rocks up. Now, what we're gonna do, guys, is that was a pretty big double drop. So we're gonna Alt 3. That's my anti-drop defense squad. Two twos on the way.
Mineral field depleted.
And here we go. So let's try and focus fire the medevacs. And now, what I'm going to do is go for a big attack if we can. These guys. Click. They can come from that side. All right, let's see if we can do a big attack here. We've got 1-1. See what we can kill. I don't see any tanks. Oh, so we're going to pull this overseer back, make sure we can spot the widow mines. And this other attack will go from the left side. So widow mines are the wrong unit to be using against hydras and roaches. Looks like we've won the game. Inject, inject, inject. Now this one was a lot better than my last game because my opponent actually was active with Hellions and even tried to go in and do some damage. So this was actually a player who really actually tried to do something that forced a response early on, but you could tell they weren't very confident from the start. Let's guess. Rather than guessing what our opponent does this time, guys, let's guess when did I hit full saturation on 3 base? I would say 5 minutes. No, because we gotta wait for that the gas. I mean, gas is 66 drones. Let's say 6 minutes. I would say 6 minutes is when I hit that. When do you guys think? Put your guesses in chat. We're playing the rewind game. Remember, you should always play the rewind game. GG, well played. Sorry, mate. Bronze to GM stream. 5:35, 6:30, 6:20, 6:20. Remember, what is the point of playing the rewind game? We are taking our conception of how well the game went or what went on and comparing it to what actually happened. So let's go take a look. I said 6 minutes. Was it actually 6 minutes? And it's good to benchmark things because there's so much that happens in a game that you don't understand. Even when you're getting more experienced and you feel like you know how to play the game, there is still so much you don't understand. There is so much that you don't understand, guys. If you don't benchmark things, then it's very easy to get frustrated and to look at what your opponent does and see it as unfair and out of control. But if you look at it and realize that you're 30 seconds late on droning your bases for no reason, changes things, right? Okay, so remember the Hellions did force some Zerglings out this game? I'm not sure if they killed any drones. Let's actually quick quickly double check. Did we lose any drones? It looks like we lost 1 drone in that attack, but we also had to build a few extra Zerglings. So remember, versus a player, if we spotted them doing like the previous game where the player went command center first, 3 barracks, there was nothing I needed to respond to. No spores, that's 2 more drones plus a bunch of minerals, and I didn't have to build extra Zerglings. I can be way greedier in those games, right? I could be so much greedier because I don't need that. Anyways, so 557 is when we hit it. Is when we hit 64 drones. Obviously the drones were still just popping out, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good, right? Do you need to have macroed this well? No, not at all, guys. I really am going on the more extreme end. So my next game, no matter what, I am going to play a little bit safer. And this is if you're not 100% flawless with your mechanics. Obviously, I'm leaning into how much better I am than these players. It's a little unfair. Let's slow down. And it's partially because I'm getting so much map vision as well. If I didn't have as much map vision, I would naturally be a little bit safer, right, guys? But I'll try to build safety roaches a big round at a previous point, because I think no matter how good your greedy build is as a Zerg, you start with that, and if you keep dying to things or whatever, there's a really simple way. There's a really simple way to just kind of simplify things and say, how can I be safer? How can I just keep dying to Hellions, 4 minute 30, 6 minutes this, Zealots, Adepts, whatever it is. And like I said, you just build a set moment in the build, so it's nice and exact, and you go, bam, at this point, as I'm taking my gases or whatever it is, I build 10 roaches, right? So that's what we're going to try to do in this game. Based on how the game's going, I'm going to try and build a set of units which is not entirely necessary, which I could probably get away with based off of my high level mechanics and game knowledge and, you know, knowing how to adapt to each situation. But I will say, well, what if I wanted to make my life a little bit safer, take a safety precaution? So we're going to find a moment in this game that kind of is a good rule to do that. And already you're seeing that we are moving further and further towards... What's up? Good luck, have fun. I'm Zerg. We're moving further and further towards pointing out options. And this is something where there's going to be people who really still just want me to tell them how to win. And I'm going to say you're going to get way more out of it if you're choosing one of these options I'm giving you and saying, yes, I'm going to do that. But you've got to take responsibility and you've got to actually own your thing, because there's always going to be many ways you have to adjust whatever people tell you to do. Sometimes people will find something that works really well in a certain meta, and I'll go, this is my thing. Oh my God, it wins every game. I don't need to think at all. This is brilliant. And the problem is when people figure out how to deal with that, or the meta shifts, and that stops being such an awesome, you know, free win, simple, straightforward plan to victory, that person finds himself kind of lost in the seas of, oh shit, I need to make decisions again. So I always like to remind people that, like, you know, there's 1,000 ways to play StarCraft, and just make sure you make sure you kind of own whatever your decision is. Now we're sending this drone around because that one was missing one, so we're just gonna make sure they all double up. Gonna get that hatch up. I think we're playing, they said TERRAN, so 3 Terrans in a row, assuming this player is actually Terran, which is cool. If we could not have shitting on vibe in the chat, please, guys. Oh, it was a joke, me telling him that I'm random, guys. That was a joke. that I'm Zerg. I know that I'm actually Zerg. So guys, first Overlord is queued to check the expansion and then to go sit on the pillar. We should have already done that from the start. I mean, it would see the next expansion anyway. I just like to go a bit deeper. So just a little extra unnecessary thing. We're gonna rally the 3rd guy on gas, and now 16 on minerals, 3 on gas plus that egg. So this is the whole point of rallying eggs, is we can already rally to our natural. We can already rally away from positions and into new positions ahead of time. Now, right now, guys, we're playing a Terran. It's a random player, and we're gonna just go quickly check the edges while that Overlord goes in, because we're going, what the hell is going on? Ooh, we're a bit late on that inject. What did I just queue, guys? I just queued my Zerglings to look for proxy barracks, but guess what? It's just a reactor at the front. into a very quick factory. So he's gone factory and barracks before command center. So this is going to be very quick Hellions, guys. So what are some ways we can deal with this? Well, let's get a third queen. You know what? Let's do my completely normal opening. But let's bring our Zerglings home. And let's just remember that this is going to get wild really quick. There are going to be Hellions in my face really early, guys. So we're going to have the third. Remember, third base into third queen is a thing, but we're going to change it up. Third queen is going to start in the main. This queen's going to move down here. So, and then we're going to build overlord. So we're doing our normal build order, except we also want to build a few Zerglings. Now, let's put and we're going to put a creep shimmer down a little bit earlier as well. So I don't have any supply right now. As soon as I get some supply, I'm going to build some Zerglings. Also, these guys are going to go through the base, that overlord, just to see what's up. I could probably get away without that. Now back to drones, back to overlords. Even if I take damage, as long as I'm droning, it's not going to count as that much damage. So Zerglings are on the ramp. It's important to spread them out, and the queens are up front. Okay. We'll try to build a fourth queen now as well. We'll use that one to inject, this one to spread creep. And we see, there's those Hellions, but they haven't hit a real important target yet. Now, I forgot to pull off gas this game, guys, but that's okay. Let's build a Roach Warren. I've got some Zerglings. Remember, spread them out. Spread them out. Yeah. So if your Zerglings are spread and then don't chase too far, they do much better as units defensively. Now, we see a Viking coming out. Okay, I think we're fine, guys. Did we stare at this too much? Did we freak out a little bit? Yes. Yes, we did. But that's okay. It's a very different sort of opening scenario. Hellions are such a fast unit. We needed to be careful. The way I always describe it, and we're going to do more and more of this, is when we do muta builds against TERRAN. Queens are your trident. If you think of one of those old gladiator guys, he's got the trident and the net. The queens are the trident. They go forth and fight the Hellions. Hellions take too long to kill them. They're too tanky. And then when they try to run past, your Zerglings are the net that catches them. So the thing is, back to macro cycles, back to macro cycles. If you don't, if you run all your Zerglings in a clump, they will get killed by them really, really hard. Let's build some liberators. Oops. Sorry, some spores and at each base as well as liberators. And let's change these rally points back. Now let's put some Zergling spotters out because I'm a little bit blind. I think I just saw some more Hellions coming, but that's okay. I'll build a few more roaches just to make sure we can handle them. And guess what? We're trying to build these drones very nicely. And trying to put workers on gas. Now you'll notice I'm putting workers on gas a little bit earlier. Oh shit, that's Hellbats, guys. So what do you do against Hellbats? Just grab your drones, grab your queens, run them away, and you take your Zerglings and you A-move them across the map. So you actually purposely avoid the Hellbats. If I wanted to be super pro, I could ambush that from behind. But check it out. So roaches, queens can now fight. And what you want to do is you want to kite. Run back. Build more roaches, inject, inject. And if you can spread them out, that's also really good. Now notice my Zerglings, I'm not actually watching them, but I'm just moving them. This is a set play. Whenever you get hit by a Hellbat timing, unless the Hellbats are spread out, you're not going to actually have any use to your Zerglings in the fight. You can cue them to just go stand behind your opponent, but all that's going to do is stop intercepting Hellions that are rallying across the map, right? So as soon as I saw those Hellbats, what did we do? What's the first rule of combat? Your opponent surprises you with an attack. What's the first thing, guys? Back the fuck off and assess the situation. Number one rule, back off, assess the situation, always. Give up ground, run away. Run away and back off, evaluate the situation. Unless, if I saw that army move across the map, I'd already be prepared. I'd already have my roaches and queens up front, my lings ready to backstab, because I would have assessed it as I saw it coming across. I just saw Hellions. I didn't realize. but this just changed massively. So what's the difference between a Hellbat and a Hellion? A Hellion has 50% less hit points. So a Hellion has 90 hit points, or 50%. A Hellbat has 50% more, is the better way to word that, sorry. Goes from 90 to 135 hit points. It also goes from a straight line of splash damage, a thin line, to a fat cone. A much wider AoE that roasts clumped up Zerglings and does a lot more damage as well. Does 18 flat damage as opposed to, I think it's like 14 in a line to light units and only 8 damage to non-light units. So the Hellbats in a clump, you just can't engage that with Zerglings. If they spread out, an individual Hellbat can just get surrounded by Zerglings and killed. Right? That's awesome. That's great. That's awesome. They're not going to do that. So they might. So what you want to do is you want to use either your masked queen or your roaches and your queens, and you want to spread them backwards. Now, I already had roaches on the way, so I didn't need to do it. But otherwise, I would have grabbed this queen and brought them to the front, and I would have started building as many extra queens as I could have as well, if I didn't have the roaches on the way. And I probably would have put a spine here, maybe a spine there as well, because I would have needed something to go. But basically, we pull back, we run the drones way back, we disengage, and I just A-move the Lings across the map. And they actually, let's see what these Lings did. Because you know they're committing to your side of the map. So number one, they're not looking at him. He's trying to go 4 command centers behind it as well. Yeah, often they'll be very greedy behind it. This is not what I was expecting. This is a more extreme example. But this is 0 micro Zerglings, and it's not very expensive. It's 12 Zerglings. It's not a big deal. But if we were more worried about the frontal push, and here's a full wall at home, remember, what could I have done? I could have immediately said Zerglings here, shift click here, and then A-move them in from behind when my opponent spreads out. They'd intercept the rallying Hellions, but also if they happen to do something like this and walk Marines across the map, you can surround those with the Zerglings from behind. And even if they're standing here, you'll kill most of them before the Hellbats can roast you, which is really cool. How can you be confident that you have enough units that you don't need the little bit the Lings do? Usually I barely hold on. Well, the Lings do nothing. They do, so it's just the Lings will hold this 1,000 times better by doing backstab damage 95% of the time. So the thing is, it's like, but what if you need the Lings at home is the question. You never need the Lings at home. But what if I lose my third? Well, if you kill 10 of their SCVs, it's better than hanging onto your third by a scrap of hit points, but losing all your drones, all your queens, all your roaches on this base. It's almost, unless your opponent spreads their Hellbats out each, you catch the units from behind, unless you really manage to use your Zerglings fantastically well, which I would warrant almost never happens. The Zerglings' damage potential as a backstab, as a intercepting the reinforcement, is always going to do way better, because what you're actually doing by going across is, as I said, you're inadvertently cleaning up their rally as well. So if there's Hellions rallying out, they're dying to these Zerglings as well. So you're actually, this is just always the better choice. There is no reason not to. How come you don't try holding with Ling Bane? Our Roach is safer and easier. We're doing a Roach Hydra build at the moment, so we don't have a Baneling Nest. That's all. You don't have the tech. Yeah. Roaches are better. Roaches are much better as a defensive unit. Yep. We're going to be swapping a Lingbane Muta in a short while, everybody. Yeah. So guys, we've got a Zerg vs Protoss. Yep. Good luck, have fun. Alright guys, so this is Zerg vs Protoss here. We're doing the same opening, but it's going to be very different things to worry about. I'm really happy we got a bunch of Zerg vs Terrans versus very different situations in all of those games. So we already saw an example of where safety units got built. In both of those couple of games, you'll notice that it wasn't because of a big scary frontal attack. It was just, oh, my opponent has Hellions, I need to have a handful of Zerglings kind of behind my queens to stop the Hellions diving in and roasting my drones. And I think that's cool. That's a cool lesson. Oh, and you're going to know that because you've got an overlord at their base. You know, you've got all these things going on, right? Let's just double check that. Let's make sure these workers are nicely doubled up. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Oh no! Oh, that's a bummer. Wait. Okay. We got it down. Phew. I was like, dude, I do not want to have to deal with this. That was really, because I was already a little slow to send my guy down there. So we'll attack him just to make sure we don't get cannon rushed. So we've got guys going to there and him. Do we build 2 Lings or the Overlord? We'll build the Overlord first this time. Just find something that works for you, whatever you prioritize. Some games I prioritize the Zerglings and cut one of these drones, other games not. We rally to the expansion now. We're gonna build 2 Zerglings. Now, okay, looks like he's got a Zealot in the wall and a super thick wall already. Which tells us what? It tells us our opponent probably doesn't have a very quick expansion up. Yeah, he's just starting it now. So this is a really good start for me because I've gone for a nice quick expand and he hasn't. Now, I didn't actually check where the probe was, so we're gonna just actually check for sneaky Protoss player. Because we also know there's not much we can do. So I'm just queuing A moves along the minimap on both sides. We're gonna start Ling speed. Let's actually remember to pull off gas this game. And let's move out to that 3rd base. And hey, okay, we found him. So I'm just gonna F2, grab both Zerglings and chase that guy down. My drone's gonna get a hit in there because it's fun to hit drones. Okay, so he's blocking my base for a moment. So we'll just start our Queen and our Overlord ahead of time. Still droning. So we've still got the 300 minerals available for when this dies. Beautiful. All right. So we get the 3rd, we add it to the control group. We set the rally points. Now we get our Zerglings. 1 on the 3rd base, 1 out front of the base. Our 2nd Overlord, we accidentally pulled that one home, which is a bit of a bummer. So you know what? I was about to send this Overlord into sacrifice, but he builds his tech underneath the Overlord, which is very kind of my opponent. I was like, hey, I don't have a lot of information in this game. I'm gonna select 2 drones, click on the gas. It's easier ways to do that if you're not as quick with your mouse that I've showed you guys many times, you know. There's always some easier techniques, but check it out, guys. 2 bases saturated, rally to the 3rd. Now, a robo equals ground play. In general, against ground play, you want to make sure you're very safe with things like roach tech and that sort of stuff. So we're going to make sure we build our roach horn right on 4 minutes as per usual. And let's get that 4th queen started as well. Spread some... Oh, hello. I did not see these guys leave. That's a bummer. So we're going to run our drones away because the depths are very good versus those. And... Oh. We're going to... just try and go back to droning now. So that was some nice damage from my opponent. Roach Horn's late now as well. Oh no. So let's go straight up to gases. Why? Because against Protoss, if they go for a robo like that, they can hit some really scary attacks. So we're going lair, 4 gases. We're not prioritizing droning that 3rd base because in this scenario, if they go robo first, they could hit you with a fierce attack. Now, could we probably defend most of them otherwise? Yeah, probably. But right now we're a little bit blind. So I'm sending an Overlord in. We're getting our Zerglings out. We're trying to reassert control and say, I need to know what's going on the map. And what do we see? A Twilight upgrading and a lot of gateways. Also, not many guys on gas. So this, to me, guys, looks like a big all-in. No guys on gas. Could be one of those 30 drone roach all-ins. So, we're spreading creep. These 2 queens are both on my defense key. And we see that guy is coming for me. So all I'm doing is building roaches. I'm also going to build a spine back here, just in case my 3rd goes down. And that's a lot of zealots, guys. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my Zerglings and I'm telling them to go there, shift, A move. So what are they doing? Similar to that last game. Inject, and give up the 3rd base. Well, okay, you know what? I think I have enough roaches. I think we can maybe take it. So we're going to try and do some kiting here. Because if he's only on 32 workers, I don't need a 3rd base to be ahead. Now the Zerglings forced a bunch of warp-ins at home, so they'll back off. We can immediately retake our 3rd. And because we scared him off, guess what, guys? We're on 45 workers. We're on 2 full bases. We've even got a few extra workers. He doesn't. As long as we immediately rebuild this, while continuing to make roaches, we can start making an upgrade. I would have gone double Evo, but I didn't have the money. So we have a lot of roaches here. Now I'm worried about him going into my main base. So these guys are all gonna try and engage. Cancel my third. Rebuild my third. Now he could have got some kills there. You're usually gonna take a lot more damage to this sort of attack. It doesn't matter because he still doesn't have these gases. I guarantee you guys, he does not have much money. You can get down to about 35 workers as long as your roaches don't take bad fights. We're now getting double upgrades. We're replacing a few drones there. And I'm still building roaches. We're gonna make a Hydrogen just so we can make that extra tech. Now it looks like a bunch of my queens died, which kind of triggers me. Let's try changeling. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. Let's look at his saturation on this base. That is not even full of workers, or barely full of workers. So he's just gonna come with round 2. Okay, so we've got 2 queens out front. Oh, still got lots of zealots coming in. Lots of overlords is all I'm building right now. And I'm putting overlords out on the edges just to see if that prism comes in. And the prism is there. Cool, that's good to know. I accidentally got some overlords and drones. So remember, control shift. So I've grabbed all this army. I've gone right click on the minerals, control shift, remake army group. And it's very tempting to start getting more tech, but it's just not important here. Your opponent's on 2 base. Even though you're barely on 2 and a little bit, it's the fact that he's on mass zealot, which we know doesn't trade well versus roaches. That's the big problem that my opponent faces here. Now, he's being annoying with that prism. So we're going to take some roaches, put him in the main, and the rest will go over to my third base. So, we're sending the queens up there, we're sending that. Oh, that's, there's DTs there. He's being very annoying. Okay. And our roaches here, we could just A-move them, but remember we're trying to kite. Shoot, run back, shoot, run back. DT is attacking down there. So we've got the Overseer, which we added to this control group. The moment we saw DTs, we did that. And these roaches intercepting. Got a spine crawler in the mineral line. And we're going to leave these guys at home while we get the next upgrades. What are we doing? We're finally droning our third base after all of this craziness. And we can see he's taking gases. He's trying to go to the next step. We've got these DTs still at home. This doesn't see quite to the edge, so we don't like being blind. We're going to spread creep out. So this was an interesting scenario. If it was Robo into Twilight, I might not have been so respectful early, but because it was just a Robo first, they can lead into some insanely fast Immortal attacks, which is why I was so respectful. Notice we're just building more guys here. So we're just going to kill this Cyber Core, and then we're going to click the pylon to depower the shield battery. So moving in, and we want to go into both mineral lines at once, and that's where we can kind of finish the game. You see he's going to hit a nice backstab. My opponent's doing some really cool moves here. So really impressed by the kind of general shifting of what my opponent's trying to do to win the game. I think is doing some really fantastic maneuvers. GG, well played, dude. The fact those DTs caught me off guard. I had no detection at all. You could argue we maybe could have had a spore in our bases just in case. But let's go back. How many probes do you guys think my opponent had with the first all-in? During the game, I said 32 probes. I'm standing by that. I think maybe 34. Let's say 34 because there was still like 1 worker on each gas. But the first attack when it came, I think was 34 probes. You shout out the number you think in chat. 28, 30, 32, 28, 30. So let's rewind. Always got to play that rewind game. And I think when did it hit? 5:30, 6 minutes, something like that. Let's take a look. So this was actually, yeah, not too poorly timed. Looks like 34, 35. Because it's 2 workers on one gas, 1 on the other, and 16 on each minerals. So this was a 35 probe attack. So what we're talking about earlier is the idea of what is a safe lead. As a Zerg player playing a macro game, a defensive game, in this case, you don't even need the third base. Remember I said 10 workers is enough? Well, we're up 13 workers. The moment I realized with that overlord, hey, you're not even mining gas. There's a shitload of gateways, like this is either mass zealot or mass adept, something with almost no gas, right? Because what can a Protoss build with only minerals, guys? Nexus, probes, cannons, zealots. Those are the only things. So if they pull off gas, technically they could have already banked some gas and be making adepts. But yeah, this was a huge issue for my opponent, because with this sort of attack, I would argue he should actually go for the natural, because he should be trying to get on top of my roaches before they grow in number, because this is such a committed attack. Now, luckily, you can attack the edge. Most Zergs will just A-move into you and give you the fight. But notice I was very... People are talking about the first attack with the adept. That was 2 adepts. That was sorry. I mean, is that an attack? Yeah, I wouldn't really call it like a big attack. It was... He had a light pressure a lot earlier in the game at about 4 minutes. You are correct, guys. And I missed it moving out as well, which was very sloppy from me. We can look at that. And I did forget my Roach Warren because that surprised me so much. So it was 20 seconds late while I dealt with it. But check it out. I even had a spine crawler to fall back on, because I was like, look, worst comes to worst, I'm falling back into this mineral line. Why would I be fighting in this mineral line? And why is the spine crawler there? Imagine if zealots attack this, guys. They're going to single file attack the spine from there, unless he micros around behind, and even then, limited surface area. Same thing with if you pull roaches into a mineral line. Say you've got 20 roaches here. Where can he attack from? Maybe 2 or 3 zealots there, 2 or 3 zealots there. So this is why against like a melee build, this is very different. I would never be doing this positioning and thinking about fighting in my mineral line versus immortal stalkers and sentries, because those are longer range units than my roaches. I want open ground so I can close the distance with them. But when you have the range advantage, you actually want to pull back into the choke point. So remember, the longer range your army is, if you've got the range advantage, you want tight, choked up areas. You want to be clumped up. You want to limit your opponent's area. But if you've got a shorter ranged army, then you want to try and get on top of them. You want to be in the open. You want to be flanking. You want to be just trying to dive on them. So that's kind of the best way. Oh, the 2 adepts surprised me, guys. So obviously, I wasn't looking at my minimap, was I? But I think if I had an extra Zergling sitting in the middle of the map, this is why I often say 4 or 6 Zerglings, right? Rather than just 2 on the map. I think then that would have seen him shade past the first Zergling. So this is why having a little bit of redundancy can be good for your plan. So we're getting closer to Diamond 2. It seems like things are slowing down a lot. So this says maximum league tier is 36.26, and we're at 35.42. So we actually, yeah, and the crazy thing is, I only got 29 MMR for that game. Now, you're meant to have provisional MMR for 25 maps. Have I already hit 25 maps? Oh, I have, haven't I? Oh, this is why it's slowing down so much. Oh, it's gonna take me so long to get to GM. I'm gonna have to start cheesing people, guys. So your first 25 games, there's a 5 times multiplier on, I think it's 5 times multiplier. I don't know the exact, but it's something like that on MMR gain and MMR loss. So if you get placed in Platinum League and you're like, I don't belong in Platinum League, don't worry, because you lose like 10 games and you're playing Silver Leaguers. Like it very quickly adjusts because of that. But and same thing, if you're not placed high enough, it'll very quickly match you with higher people. But I'm past that provisional stage now where it's like, oh yeah, you belong here. And this is, of course, what happens when you leave your placement matches and get put in bronze, which is why I don't like doing this. I'd much rather be blitzing my way through, but it is what it is. Main, natural, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Do we want to take the gold base? No, we're going to take 4th up there, actually. So, and then we'll take 5th down here. Gold base is for tryhards and people who like losing drones constantly. So anyway, first Overlord, we'll check the expansion as well as what's on the high ground, then go back to the pillar. Second Overlord is going to go over to the sacrifice point. We're going to go for a 17 spawning pool there, as per usual. Now, our drones are all bouncing around a little bit, guys, so let's see if they figure it out themselves. Nope. They almost never do. 4th, 5th, Okay. So the reason I want to expand along the top of this map is there's a very scary push path down the bottom. So if we expand here, it's really easy for a Terran player to push. And this was a Terran player. So we want to generally expand away from Terran as much as possible. So we've got 1 drone to finish the 16 on minerals, 2 drones on the gas. Now I sound like people on the ladder for real. Oh, it'll take forever to get GM. It'll never happen. You know, whenever people talk like that way, I always remind people of when I was in kindergarten as a 5-year-old and they were teaching us like how to spell words. And I like very vividly remember this moment of pure just like dismay and like, I'm never going to remember all these words. They're like cat, dog, hat, door, man. And I'm like, Jesus, there's so many. There's so many words. I remember as a 5-year-old being like, there's no way I'll remember how to spell all of these. This is ridiculous. Do they think I'm a wizard? Like, I remember just being like at the end of my wits, like this is obscene. Like, I remember as a 5-year-old just thinking this was so ridiculously unfair. I was like, that's crazy, dude. I can't do all this. And then you realize, you're like, no, it all just becomes automatic at a certain point. Oh no, he jumped in there. So we're gonna do a spore trick. Oh no, we did it too slow. Thankfully, he does get punished for that. So what do? You just build a spore crawler and then we can cancel him a little bit. So this queen could have stayed up there. We would have been fine against this, but... Oh, we've got to pull off gas. Inject, more drones. Check it though. I queued those guys to go in there and now he gets punished because he didn't scout. So he doesn't know that I went pull first. So we're going to pull those back, build another overlord to go here. And his Reapers come home. He had to pull 3 SCVs. So this all delays him. We also saw that it's a factory and a reactor. We can just very quickly check. So we're doing a little bit of bonus scouting here. Oh, inject. Oh, they're not synced up. Bad pig. Extra overlord there, extra overlord there. Okay, cool. So what I was doing with that is seeing if you put the factory on the reactor. Now that's the same factory. It's just because I didn't scout deep enough, it looks like 2. That just tells us that he's building Hellions. I didn't need to check that, but bonus points, why not? Now, remember, if you're not super fast, don't ever do bonus points shit like that. You have limited APM, so it's actually costing you stuff. The only reason I do moves like that is because it doesn't cost me anything because I'm faster than you are. Inject. Uh-oh. Now remember, he runs in here. Ooh. Let's build our 4th queen. Okay, let's try and rally down there. I'll build a few more Lings here. You go there. Extra overlord. I haven't sent my sacrifice through yet, so we're a little slow on that due to my opponent harassing me. So guys, let's try and calm down. Roachhorn is a little bit late this game. Let's try and keep droning. Respread creep. Okay, so he's actually got quite a few Hellions, doesn't he? So we're going to build a few more Zerglings here. Notice the queens go out first, and the Lings once again are staying behind. So I'll put a few up in there, and these guys are just going to be spread out. Building a few more overlords here. And what do we see, guys? That's upgrading. That means cloaked banshees are coming, which means you need to get a spore down in each base. And let's also build a spore out front to make sure he can't just hang out there and kill my queens. Now, you can also get a lair faster than normal is one way of dealing with that, because that allows you to get mobile detection in the form of an overseer. Let's get the gases. And all of our mineral lines are saturated, which is really nice. We've got these Zerglings here for safety. Once again, let's spread them out though a little bit. And our overlord actually survived, which is super cool. Okay, now let's build some roaches, because that's getting to be a scary number of Hellions, right? And he could morph Hellbats or something like that as well. So in general, getting a few roaches makes your life a lot easier. There's even builds where you even skip Ling speed and you just go straight to that. Now, also, let's replace some queens. Because there's banshees, we want to have mobile anti-air. So we're going to build 2 queens to replace, but we're going to put these queens on my defense key. Ooh. So these queens are going to come up to here. They're going to spread creep into the main. And we're going to get an overseer and go on that creep/defense key. We're going to build drones to replace that. Let's try and take a 4th base. Keep spreading creep. Let's go double Evo Den, Hydra Den. And let's get some spotters out. Now that I don't think the Hellions are dead, but we'll just put a few out since it seems he's not out there anymore. That Evo chamber didn't go down. All right, so what are we doing, guys? Well, we've got 3 bases, 66 drones. Same thing we always do. Build roaches. And once we've done building roaches, remember, what are we going to do? We're going to build more roaches. Now, we also saw an upgrade on the barracks, which tells us he's going bio, but we're going to send an overseer through, take a look at his production anyway, just to get a better idea. And remember, we're playing a TERRAN, so let's start breaking down rocks. As well as clearing creep. Inject, inject, inject. Build more roaches, build more roaches. 1/1 range upgrades. Queue both Hydra upgrades. Select hatcheries, rally point to the 4th base. So we see double upgrades, we see lots of marines, lots of barracks, so tank, marine. Very standard composition, nothing crazy. Let's make sure we have an overseer with my army to see invisible units. And let's keep spreading creep. And we're going to use those anti-banshee queens, which are also our creep queens. Let's do that. So let's put a spore up there. And we're going to just send out some scouts. So how are our Hydra upgrades doing? Pretty good. Next round, we'll actually add Hydras. Actually, we're already full of overlords, so we could start them now. We haven't killed that yet, those rocks. So let's kill these rocks, and then let's kill those ones. So we're going to open up those. So we're going to open that, and then we're going to go up there and then break those rocks. So we're trying to open up all the paths on this map. Notice our main. Take 8 of the drones. Transfer to the 4th. If you remember to do that, it's so effective. Oh no! What's happening? So he's seen me trying to clear that stuff down. Let's add more Hydras. Let's run back. A little bit greedy trying to clear those. Remember? Changelings. Look how much I see with these changelings, guys. Not to mention, I sent a single Zergling and it denied a base. Now he's actually pushing me right now. And this map can be kind of nasty to engage. So what do? Same as always. Split half of our army. Set up the 2 halves. One size fits all, guys. So that half is going to try to come over here into this open area. And we're waiting for him to come to us for now. Here we go. These guys come in from behind. Now, 1/1 just finished. We need 30 seconds before we fight. So we're not going to fight yet. Or, oh, he's so deep, I don't think we can resist. So we're just going to come in from behind. And F2, A move. You want a micro? Move, just box those guys and shift click the tanks. F2, add them all back into one army. So notice I turned both groups back into one. And because we've routed him, we don't need to worry anymore. Inject, inject, inject. Build Hydras. Build some overlords. Check the fight. Now, you're going to notice I'm doing a lot more macroing at home in these games. And that's because I'm winning the first fight so decisively. And the reason I'm winning the fight so decisively compared to my previous Roach games is because I'm macroing harder. I am not building as many units early. I'm going up to better upgrades, a better army, and I'm hitting the players at a point where they can't really compete with me. Now notice I'm getting shelled by a tank here. We could pull back, or we could just finish the game. Let's send the overseers forward to scout, and let's go for it. Now, normally I don't like telling the whole army to clump up like that, but because my opponent just has so few units, in this scenario, where they've just got so little firepower, it's absolutely okay to do this sort of just ram your army in there. If you can't judge that though, a much safer answer would have been just go kill that base and back off. There was no need to press in here. This was us seeing we had an advantage and choosing to take it. How do you deal with siege tanks? Siege tanks are just a really normal unit, so you don't even need to think about it really. It's just don't attack into a really well-defended choke point filled with tons of siege tanks. Split your army up wherever you can, flank your opponent wherever you can, and if you can catch them unsieged, that's a big plus. So it's just don't. Tanks are a siege unit if they're behind a wall, they're holding in, you know, a very good defensive spot, then it can be really bad to fight. If he had 10 tanks here, I wouldn't shove my whole army up there. I'd wait for him to come out and to an open area, and I'd attack him from 2 sides while killing other bases. What's a good rewind, guys? Well, once again, when do you think we hit our full worker count in that game, guys? When did we hit that worker count? 3 base, full workers. I think it was pretty late. I think 6:30 that game. I don't actually know. People saying like maybe 7 minutes, 6, 4:20. Oh, thank you so much, Swiss, for the huge support, mate. So I had a 4th at this point. Looks like I'm at 63 drones. I mean, I just built 2 Evos and a Hydra Den, so that's actually popped me below. So it's important to check, well, when did I actually hit 66? Let's go back a little bit earlier. I'm at 66 workers pretty early. 5:45 actually. So no, I was up there really early, guys. 65 drones, 5:45 even. Now, of course, does that include these 6 workers? Yes, it does. It includes these 6 workers. They're not actually out yet, so that count up there kind of lies. So looks like 5:55 is when I hit 65 workers. However, I hadn't built the double Evos and the Hydra Den yet, but about 6 minutes. Let's just say 6 minutes, about smack on. So you can see I'm pretty consistently getting there, even if the Hellions are forcing out a few more Zerglings. The lack of queens with this build does make this sort of build defense a little bit uncomfortable, guys. So I think what would make my life a lot easier here, even though it slows down the droning and would create a more realistic scenario, is I want to, in my next game or two, I want to really make sure we get that Roach Warren down in time. Even if it's just before 4 minutes, that's okay. And let's get a handful of roaches out if my opponent builds Hellions or has a couple of Adepts being annoying, just because it's going to simplify our life a little bit. Whereas at the moment, because we're playing such a light queen build, we should be totally happy to overbuild units to defend. When we start building more queens as standard, we're not going to want to do that. We're back on Blackburn, and this one's a Zerg versus Zerg, and I've been wanting more Zerg versus Zerg. Now, why do we want more Zerg versus Zerg? Because remember, ZVZ is its own thing, and I teach people how to play ZVZ like it's a completely different matchup. Remember, you see Zerg in the loading screen, you go, awesome! And think of this as not a ladder game. Think of this as, oh cool, I get to play silly Ling bane skirmish. Like, it's a special game mode. If you want to play it the way that I do, which I think is one of the best ways to learn ZVZ, it's you're playing an arcade mode, you know? It's let's learn how to smash banelings into our opponent effectively. And a lot of people never embrace that, and they hate ZVZ. What you got to realize is it's a bit speedier, but it's also very technical, and it's so rewarding, guys. It really is so rewarding. Now remember, we want 2 overlords outside our opponent's base. Why do we do that, guys? We do that because, well, wait, what are you doing? You go there, you go there. And this hatchery is just a slight second late because we don't really need to worry about Adepts or Reapers, but we need to make sure we see anything leaving our opponent's base, okay? So, we've got the gas going down. Now with this pool first, gas is a little slower than a hatch first, usually, but that's okay. We're not doing the fastest Ling bane attack anyway. So we've got 3 workers rallied to gas. We're going to start our queen, so it's the same opening to begin with. Going to get our overlord out, and remember, once we get 2 overlords outside their base, it's very important to get one in the middle to kind of see the movement between the 2 of you, if possible. So we're going to put that one out there, and then we've got to get one outside our base. Let's queue up the second queen straight away. Now we see his hatch is even later than mine. Oh my. That's a very late hatch, guys. I went pool first. Do we build a spine crawler because of that? Yeah, why not? I mean, I've already not gone hatch first, so why is his so much later? Well, we don't really know. We're going to send 2 Zerglings in. I've already queued those to do a big loop-de-loop of my opponent's base. So hopefully that tells us a bit. And this queen's going to be ready on the ramp, so when the other queen pops out, they can hold position on the ramp if needed. Now, we haven't confirmed what's up. We actually see a gold base. Oh, our opponent's gone and taken the gold. Oh my god. And they're already working on those rocks. Oh my god. So we've cancelled that. Let's go take a 3rd base. Inject, drones. And they're already building a lot of Lings, so I don't know if they're really going to get much benefit out of that gold base. So what are we looking for, guys? We're looking for, is the Ling speed going? And it is, you see, because it's wobbling. And I'm just queuing those Zerglings to be distracting for a little bit. Now, my Baneling Nest is a bit late here, but we are going to start non-stop.
Our forces are under attack.
Extra Overlord. This guy there. So that guy, yeah. So these guys are going to just hide for now. And all we're doing, guys, is building Lings and Banes. And remember, our techniques for how we make Ling Bane attacks work, right? So with these guys, we're hiding, first of all. I might just run those straight into the gold, actually. And this guy, oh, he's sitting right on my high ground, the cheeky bastard. And what are we doing? We're making as many Banelings as we can. We steal them on a different key. And that's a lot of Lings. More Lings. Click those on the Bane there. We A-move our Zerglings. Our Banelings will A-move. A-move. Move into the... Okay, we've won the Ling fight, so just move the Banelings into the mineral line. And remember, let's try and box these. Queue them onto the different units. Let's also go in here. Now, we saw Spine Crawlers in his expansion, so we know that we don't really want to be... we don't really want to be engaging at the gold base. So our opponent basically banked on us trying to punish his gold base. So he went and said, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to build 2 spines there. And so the reason this build didn't make sense from our opponent is they went so quickly into 3 hatcheries, and then they tried to go roaches and spines while also going Ling speed. So they had a lot of different competing options going on. Are they playing Lings and Banelings? If they are, cool, that's great for a gold base. Well, why is there such a quick 3rd hatchery? Because that's delaying their queens, which means they're not going to have the lava to use the gold minerals. Also, if you're taking the gold minerals, you should be transferring a lot of drones to that gold base, at least 4 or 5 minimum, or there's no point in taking such an exposed base. Likewise, the problem with this base is that it's exposed. Our opponent tried to counter that with a Roachhorn Spine Crawler wall in, but it kind of is like, hey, we're going to build a wall and Germany just goes around. For anyone who knows their World War II history, you know, it's like, they're like, we're just going to go around it. And you're like, damn, we really were hoping you'd attack into the Maginot line. You know, it's like, it's unless the static defense is absolutely everywhere, it can always be avoided. So I reckon a lot of people tunnel vision and go, oh, the gold base. But the gold base itself, it's not that it is exposed, it's that both angles are far apart from each other. And so you can see that my opponent here tries to kind of get some Ling momentum. Now, I think my opponent could have still potentially defended off this, right? Because I even started a Spine Crawler thinking I was being all-in when I saw this hatchery being so late. I was like, that's such a late hatch. I think this might be like a 14 gas, 14 pool Ling speed rush. But what my opponent needed to do to counteract my Banelings is to backstab and counterattack with Zerglings. But if they fight defensively front on, Zergling versus Zergling Baneling, Zergling Baneling wins. It's always going to win. Your Zerglings can't clump up, which Zerglings need to do to fight. So if you're going to play Ling speed like this, your Lings should be diving across the map, attacking my 3rd, cutting in behind my units, rallying across, forcing the fight away from their base, and that should buy them time to get up to roaches. And they should never be trying to build spines. That just doesn't make sense. The bigger thing, look at my opponent's map vision. They have 2 really good overlords outside my base, but this overlord's kind of far back. They don't have that much vision up there. They do put a creep shimmer, which is cute. Nothing up there either, which is why if you look at their vision, they had so little warning of that, and that was devastating. That got every single drone on their base. Like, it was already game over at that point. But then we see Ling versus Ling, and I've got Banelings, and it's pretty simple, straightforward. So let's review, guys, though. Remember, what is the rule? You take a quick 3rd, but we don't build a 3rd queen. This is where we change the build. The moment we get the 3rd, we go straight for a Baneling Nest. Mine was a little bit late. and we do nothing but rally Ling Bane across the map. And every time we make Banelings, as we're going to do here, I didn't even bother morphing them spread out. I was kind of lazy with how I morphed them because I didn't feel my opponent was going to have like Banelings in time. I was just like, but notice I stole them onto control group 3. So Alt 3, and I click them straight into a mineral line. I micro my Lings. I figure out what's going on in this situation. Any even Ling fights I try to back off from. If I've got even or less Zerglings, only fight when I have more Zerglings. And then whenever the fights happen, it's just those Banelings that I've queued into a mineral line, go look at them when it's time to go in. Now you could argue this is dangerous because I'm looking at those as my Lings run up a ramp. That's really dangerous. What should I have done is clicked my Zerglings back, gone, microed my Banelings, boom, boom, boom. Then gone back to the Zerglings and then microed them up the ramp. Because I could have run into a Baneling while looking at the other base. So that doesn't make any sense, does it? There's no reason why the Zerglings are going in right now at the same time. So always enter the micro situations on your own schedule, not on your opponent's schedule. And then whenever your Banelings get to a mineral line, shift click on the drones. Make sure they're trying to blow up on those drones. So we were on 26 drones this game. So it's normally from about 33, 34 supply, we build non-stop Zerglings and Banelings. So 2 queens, plus whatever Zerglings you've already got out. Yeah, anywhere between 25 and 30 drones is totally fine to do this, but you don't want to leave it too long. I'd say about 26 is probably the sweet spot. What's the best way to defend a Ling Bane rush? Well, if you're playing Zergling Baneling, basically, if you've got an abundance of Zerglings, you just backstab with them, as I mentioned in that game. But you bring your queens to the front. So if you see a shitload of stuff coming, you just grab all your queens, put them all in your defense key, bring them to the front of your natural, and you just dance your Banelings around them. So if you have, say, 3 queens at the front of your base, and they come in a big clump, your Banelings that you're just shift-clicking in circles around your queens, you just blow up some of your Banelings and kill all their stuff, and you win. But what if they spread their units out? Well, then your queens are just sniping down units really efficiently as they come in. So the trick is, if you get all your queens up front and Banelings stopping them from getting overwhelmed, you just keep morphing extra Banelings. So you've always got Banelings guarding the queens, stopping them from all rushing in at once. And it allows your queens to just shoot units down. A lot of people will say you should do an Evo wall and use queens. But if you're playing Ling Bane, you should not do that. There are 2 very different branches. That's how you defend if you're not going Ling Bane. Because the whole point in investing in Baneling tech is you don't need a wall. So unless you already had most of the wall ready, just as happenstance, as part of your build, it's not a big deal. Just make sure you think of that, because what's the point in Evos and Roach Warrens and stuff to wall off? It's like, well, if you're doing a gasless Roach wall off build, totally fine, great way to defend. But if you're playing Ling Bane, you want to actually, there's a reason you're making Ling Bane, guys. There is a big reason why you're making Ling Bane. So that's going to go there, and then to the sacrifice spot, we're going to get our spawning pool. My opponent, as playing on a barcode, apparently is aware of who we are and what we're doing. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Also, aggression is the key, says Shizi. Learn your Ling Bane micro by being aggressive. It's easier to attack than defend. Yes, absolutely. Well, you also will experience players who shut you down, and you'll get a really good appreciation for like how strong that is. Now, we could be getting cannon rushed, so as always, guys, attack the probe. And you can do super advanced micro where you pull extra drones to intercept. It's not necessary. Let's not waste our time. So what are we doing, guys? We're building drones. We're building drones. That goes there. Whoops. Now it's too late, I think, for him to be doing anything now. So we've got 3 on gas, 15 on minerals. So the next drone we build does need to go on minerals just to cap that off. But we can already set the rally point down there because we're remembering to manually rally that drone. That'll make 16 workers. Now, we're just gonna kind of... Where's that probe? There he is. Beautiful. So we're gonna try and hunt him down. And pretty quick nexus before Cybercore here. Now, because both pylons are at the front, you know that's where the tech is gonna go down. So we just need to poke this overlord in a little bit, and it can kind of see what tech my opponent goes for, which is super cool. Makes my life very easy. I'm gonna send the drone over to my third a bit earlier this game. Excuse me, guys, just burping into my mic like a savage. We're gonna pull 2 workers off gas. And can we get that probe? Maybe. Stargate goes down at the front. Now there might be a void ray, so I'm actually gonna pull this overlord way back. So we got the probe, and then they started fighting the adept, which is not good. We've got the third base down there. Oh no, I accidentally just added the eggs to my hatchery hotkey. So what am I doing? Select hatchery hotkey, control shift, remake hatchery hotkey. Third queen is now on the way as well. There we go, which we definitely need. Now, because it's a Stargate build, guys, we're gonna go straight up to 5 queen. So we're gonna actually already be doing our kind of, I guess what you'd call the standard build for fighting against... Ooh, we just saw adepts coming, guys. We need to build Zerglings. We need to build Zerglings, but I'm supply blocked. So what can we do? Emergency! Emergency! This is what we call extractor tricks. We're building 6 Zerglings and then canceling those, so we don't actually want them yet. And now we're building more. You do not need to ever do that usually, unless you've made a big mistake. But here we go. So now we've got some Zerglings on the way. Run! Run! There we go. Okay, so now me Zerglings can try to run that down. We see he's going to Void Ray. So that was unnecessary. If we'd just kind of rebuilt some Zerglings or had 6 Zerglings by safety, which you should always have against Adepts or Hellions, right? You should always have at least a few, then you could be good. So we're going to A-move our Zerglings over to his third base, hopefully catch those Adepts on the way home. Looks like we didn't, but that's okay. We're building drones. And what are we doing, guys? We're going to try and build some queens. Ooh, look at this. So we're going to attack from both sides. Now notice those guys on the top might die. So we're gonna come around there. We're gonna rally up there. And what do we need, guys? Spores. Because even though my opponent opened Void Ray, there could be oracles behind it. So we're building drones, and indeed there is. So we're gonna leave 1 Zergling there, and then we're gonna back off. We're gonna put some Ling scouts around, and we will just break these rocks down. Actually, you know what, guys? Let's just put some Ling spotters everywhere. Keep it real simple and just back off. Go back to my side of the map. Okay, so where's me Roach Warren? Well, you know what? Delaying your Roach Warren and speeding up your spores is actually what you do against Stargate. So you don't do this against TERRAN ever, delaying your tech structure, but against Protoss, if they've gone Stargate first and you know about it, because you need to get those spore crawlers and that's expensive, it actually makes a lot of sense for you to go ahead and do it that way. Now notice we are missing a queen on that base, but we do have extra queens out. I've got a good ring of vision across the map. We're building lots of overlords so we can react with whatever we need to. And my rally points are definitely causing me a bit of trouble. So we're just fixing my saturation. And we're gonna try to go double Evo. We've got these 3 queens out. Trying to put some more Zerglings out. We'll build a few more Lings as well. Our queens are gonna try and defend. We're going double Evo chamber. So I'm feeling a little worried because there could be like a Zealot attack, an Adept attack, and queens and Lings are all well and good, but they're not really gonna defend you from everything. So we managed to kill that, which is very nice. So we're gonna build a big round of roaches here, even though I'm not finished on 3 base, because remember I said I wanted to start just getting used to doing moves like that to try and simulate, you know, you guys aren't gonna be as confident as me. We're gonna queue that Overseer in. We're gonna confirm this third is down. It should be, because remember he pushed us back. So we see Adepts, Sentries. So it looks like not mass air, because if he was going mass air, he wouldn't be spending gas on Sentries, would he? So Sentries are a very gas heavy unit. If you see them, it usually tells you your opponent's playing ground. We're gonna take a 4th base and gas there. Do we need to do that? No, we don't actually. So that's not really part of the build. Do we need to do that? No. I've already done it, so we're not gonna not do it. We're not droning it though. Inject, inject, inject. Let's try and slow down here and assess what we're doing. Changeling. Let's see what the army looks like. Let's shuffle our scouts up, make sure there's no 4th base for free. Okay, so I'm kind of going into default mode and playing a little bit too fast, I think. Let's put Overlord on the edge, Overlord on the edge, a few more Overlords in the back. Now because we don't know what he's doing, we're still not sure exactly what's going on. Now we see Robo Bay Forge Twilight, so that's all ground tech, and that's either Colossus or Disruptors. Because there's an upgrade, that means it's Colossus range. So we can beat that army with Roach Hydra, guys. We can, but it's going to be a little tough to do. If we want to be super advanced, we could go straight for Hive here. What is Hive going to do? Well, Hive allows you to make Vipers, which are amazing versus that tech. Problem is, if they get High Templar, they can feed back Vipers. Bigger problem, Spellcasters? Get the fuck out of here, it's B2GM. We're not trying to teach people how to be tryhards, clicking Spellcasters around like they think they're pro gamers. Get out of here, it's disgusting. Pro gamers are, a lot of pro gamers don't even use Spellcasters. So let's come on. You guys aren't as good as Sue, come on. So all we're doing is Mass Roach Hydra. Now we're gonna have a big onus on us to split our army and do that multi-prong attack really well, because our opponent's gonna have Stalkers, Colossus, all these units that perform really well in one direction. Stalkers, Sentries, etc. So let's go break these rocks, and we're gonna have to split our army once all of our upgrades are ready. We're not actually ready to fight yet. Let's just transfer these guys onto those gases, because that's going to be important. We're also going to take a 5th base up there. Once again, we're not droning, guys. We're just opening up. Whoa, hello. Shit. That's a big army. There's not many Immortals in there, so I'm building a lot of Roaches. Now, he does have Sentries, though. So, technically, Ravagers do very well against those units. So notice we're going to spread into the open, and we're going to say, come and fight me. He is gonna say, no thank you. So what are we doing? Splitting the army. Run. And engage. Go back in with that army while this army goes in. We're gonna steal those guys. Got the prison, pull back. These guys, pull back. So, this kind of sucks because he's been allowed to max out, so my opponent should beat me. But you know what they say, right? Shoulda, woulda. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Technically, Lurkers. Technically, Hydras. All good units right now. But I still want to win with just Roach Hydra, so we're going to see what we can do with just Roach Hydra. Now, a lot of people just cannot handle losing. They can't even handle watching other people losing. And I know this because, guess what, guys? We see him in Twitch chat every day. Oh, if you just did this, you could have won! It's not always the goal. Sometimes improvement is the goal. So, let's go. So we've caught him out of position. So these guys are going to catch those guys. And then these guys can try to catch him on the way back as well. So these guys are going to try and get in there. So this looks like it's going full base trade. So we're going to run these guys down there and build a hatchery. So we're going to try and kill everything, building-wise. Make sure nothing escapes. Let's kill the Nexus so he can't recall. Now it looks like he got up there before most of those spines finished, which is a bit of a bummer. Still trying to build more roaches though. And we're going to try and defend here and kill what we can. Because he knows that he has no buildings elsewhere, which is why my opponent's GGing now, because he doesn't have any probes on the map. Also, we killed a lot of his army attacking into this. Even though we weren't killing everything, we killed a lot with those spines, and we were able to win, despite having the inferior army. Yeah. But Pig, if he didn't just move across the map there, yeah, I know, that's StarCraft. But if he just didn't, but you can say, but if he just didn't for every fucking scenario in StarCraft. How often do we see pros throw games? It was a throw because if he did, yes, you can backseat all you want all day, all year long. But there are always ways to make your opponent make those mistakes. There's a reason why guys like Bly make ridiculous comebacks on a daily basis. And it's because rather than going, I am objectively behind, they ask themselves, how can I win? So people are like, no one said anything, Pig. Trust me, there's a guy in the YouTube comments when this gets posted on YouTube who's just said something Twitch chat. But if he just did the thing, and I'm sure there's someone thinking it. And it's absolutely right, guys. My opponent did a really good job of defending, force fielding me out. It was mostly Stalkers, so it wasn't like the sickest army, to be fair. But even with just a few Immortals and Colossus in the back, it was always going to be, it was hard for me to find a way to engage on this. If I had more Ravagers, I probably could have forced my way on top and broken the force fields. Like I could have probably, looking at it in hindsight, I thought there'd be more Colossus than this. There was only one. If there was more Colossus, it would have been more of a problem for me. Obviously the Immortals kill the Roaches, but you still want to get at least 3 Colossus and then probably add Disruptors or something because they're going to be more splash damage units. But notice I just kept reinforcing that army. I took another base because I realized the game was going longer and I knew gas was going to be my limiting factor. So I kind of just transferred some workers off minerals onto these extra gases. And we just did we pulled, as soon as my opponent pushed forward, we pulled this army back in. It was always one army in, out, in, out, in, out. And eventually we find a couple of Immortals was huge and then pull back. And then these units move in. And you've got to think about it from your opponent's point of view. Your opponent's like, okay, this Zerg's making a shit army, but what if he gets Vipers? But what if he gets Broodlords? They do have pressure on them to attack. Also, as far as they know, I have the entire map. They've been sitting in their corner on 3 base. So they know I have a bigger economy. I have more bases to mine from. It is a stressful position for your opponent to be in. And when they have the better army and then you refuse to fight them front on, it's very frustrating for them. So when the base trade started, what do we do, guys? We started massing spines. In hindsight, we should have started massing them all up here to begin with, because then we could have kept all of our tech alive and they would have finished, whereas these spines all died about 10 seconds before they finished. So I overestimated. I thought my opponent would be a bit slower to get up there. Always better to build a wall of static further back. The other thing is I grabbed drones from an external base. I sent them down here and built another hatchery so that I could rebuild on the other side of the map if things reset. When I came in here, I shift-clicked the cannons, the batteries down as quickly as possible, and it should be good. If your tech buildings die, do you lose upgrades? No, not at all. Yeah. Burrow tech is super good in base trades, absolutely. Any sort of invisibility, cloaked banshees, dark Templar, anything like that's pretty big. So you can see here, these spines were all like, so close to finishing, but I don't think they ended up killing much. Maybe like a Stalker or 2. Yeah, not even. They killed nothing. But somehow these 5 spines, because it's on that ramp as well, it's even harder for them to push into, which is cool. GG. Oh, shit. Oh my god, we did it. We're in Diamond 2. I never thought I would see this. Oh, to be fair, I've never made Diamond 2 before because they didn't have individual league tiers back when I was in Diamond League in the very beginning of StarCraft 2. For those who don't know, Platinum League was originally the highest league. Then they released Diamond. Then they released Masters, then they added GM. So they steadily added them over the first year of StarCraft 2. So that's actually the first time I've had a Diamond 2 promotion. I mean, all of these promotions have been my first time, to be honest. GG's, guys. This was awesome. I think that wraps up us showing some base trades, some different scenarios with Roach Hydra, as well as starting to show that different line, which is Ling Bane, get aggro, non-stop Ling Bane rally, and try to learn how to find and go back to your systems within the chaos and the action of the Ling Bane. Remembering that, your job is to not get all adrenaline pumped up and freaking out and go, oh! Your job is to try and stay calm while still doing things relatively quickly. But now we are going to move to a style that is much more dynamic. We are going to be Mutalisk focused. Now, we're going to try to, as a general rule, play Ling Bane into Muta, But there may be some scenarios where we play Ling Roach, simply because, say, against Protoss, Roaches are much better for holding off a lot of Protoss early game aggression. And you can still play Ling Roach into Muta as well. But the idea is this is going to be a more tech-oriented style. It's going to be more about mobility, backstabbing your opponent and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be awesome. Diamond 2 about to kick off.